Welcome, everyone, wherever you may be watching, to Monday Night Racing, the Season 5 Championship Race. We're live on YouTube, youtube.com/Eric Estep. We're also on twitch.tv/Podium Esports. We're also live in Charlotte at the Carolina Esports Hub, where we have our Championship 4 set to participate, set to compete in person. Anthony Alfredo, Presley Sora, Colin Fern, James Bickford, your championship 4. If you were here last week, we raced at Atlanta, the old Atlanta, with the next gen cars. And that race, I don't know if we have clips to play, but if you were there, it probably stuck in your memory because it was one for the ages with late race drama. Colin Fern on a different pitch strategy, trying to hold off Adam Cabot on fresher tires. A late race caution with less than 2 laps to go. Colin Fern was coming out of turn 4, saw the white flag, and then Garrett Smithley went spinning from second. That set up a final restart. Fern, pitting for fresh tires, was able to charge from 11th to 1st in the final 2 laps, passing Adam Cabot out of turn 4 to nab the final championship 4 spot. So I mentioned that they're going to be racing in person in Charlotte tonight. As you can tell, I'm in my typical studio. I'm in my spare bedroom, as always, here in Houston, Texas. So I'm calling this one remotely, but once we turn things over to the broadcast booth, as well as everyone else putting this show on in Charlotte tonight, they will be on location. So that's really, really exciting. For the next 10 minutes or so, you're stuck with me, though. I'm checking out the live chat here on YouTube. Good to see you, C2. Good to see you, Beat Boop. I love that name. That's good stuff. DCO. Tara, LOL JK Racing. That's a good name. Giving 2311 a run for their money. I like that. Melissa, Carolina Cards. Just skimming through a bunch. I'm looking for names that I haven't seen in recent weeks. But it's good to see so many of you guys here live for the Out of the Groove pre-race show. First people here, I want to get a kind of set the tone early. I mentioned our 4 championship contenders. We have Presley Sora, who I believe was the 1 seed coming into these playoffs 6 weeks ago. He's made it all the way to the championship. We've got Anthony Alfredo, of course, NASCAR Xfinity Series driver. Colin Fern, who I just mentioned, winning last week in dramatic fashion. And then we also have James Bickford, driver of the 29. Chat, so I have the Twitch chat pulled up. I've got the YouTube chat pulled up. Who's everyone's pick to win? I'm going to ask you guys that a number of times before this race goes green. But I wanted to see what you guys think now, the first 100 or so to pick to join up. Already a bunch for Anthony Alfredo. Bickford. Good stuff. Sorah. All righty. I didn't mean to play favorites. I had Presley Sora's truck in the thumbnail. That's not me playing favorites, but I see now a lot in the chat pulling for Presley Sora. Jerry Nadeau, that's right. Jerry Nadeau's racing tonight. I think it's actually good if I quickly run through all the drivers who are racing in person tonight at the Carolina Esports Hub. Obviously, our championship 4, but we've also got Corey Heim, Will Rogers, Ryan Vargas, fresh off a career best finish at Daytona in the Xfinity Series this past weekend. Ford Martin, Nick Olson, Michael Massey, Matt Stallnick, Noah Lewis, Gary Sexton. Moonhead is racing tonight. I hope you can hear the sound of my voice. Jerry Nadeau, the chat was just mentioning him. Pretty cool to see Jerry Nadeau competing here in the Monday Night Racing Season 5 finale. Brad Perez, Justin Malillo, DJ Cummings, Brett Baldeck, among perhaps a couple others. I believe that's all of them. And thank you for the comment. Hall of Fame City Gaming. Good stuff right here. Asking about real world racing stuff. Is somebody picked Cale Gale? I like that. David Shieldhouse. David Shieldhouse, unfortunately, not in the championship 4 tonight, but certainly going to be a threat to win. No doubt about that. Thoughts on possibility of Kaulig bringing Kyle Busch for next season? Maybe putting him in the 16 car. That's good. A good question. The Kyle saga in the real world NASCAR Cup Series continues. Absolutely. I think anything's possible at this point. All possibilities. Chevrolet would be an interesting manufacturer. All right, and we are back live. Thanks everyone for bearing with us. We gave ourselves an extra almost hour for this week's pre-race show because we know we have a lot of information to throw y'all's way here very quickly. And let's go ahead and get to that now. Like I said, I'm remote here in Texas, but let's go live to the Carolina Esports Hub where Darren is standing by with our championship 4.
Coming you from the stage, the championship stage here at the Carolina Esports Center. We have 4 championship drivers with us tonight, vying for that Monday Night Racing Championship trophy, as you see it right here in front of me. We're going to get to know these cats just a little bit better before we send them onto the virtual Miami Speedway. We'll start with this guy right to my right. You're 18, man. You are wearing a Rusty Wallish vintage shirt. What is that, circa 1991? You are Presley Sora. You made the drive all the way down here from Indiana. Welcome, man. How you going?
I'm doing great. First off, I want to give a big shout out to my sponsors: Club Jerky, McConey Setup Shop, 213 Simware Designs, and then Skybox NASCAR, Sim Racing Channel on Roku TV, and then B-Blaze Vintage. They gave me this shirt here as part of the sponsorship. Like this is not sponsor Presley talking. I promise they are the best vintage apparel company I've ever seen. So if you want vintage apparel, go here. But yeah, I made the 9-hour drive all the way from Indiana to come down here and race, and I'm ready to go. I think it's going to be a good night.
Absolutely. You're, I would say, kind of an underdog. You're a rookie in the race tonight. You're a rookie in the league. But hey, it's been a weird kind of season across motorsports for first-time winners, so why not the rookie tonight wearing, like, gentlemen, you really should have stepped up your game. If anybody is winning the swag game early in the evening, it's definitely Presley. You got to give it up for him. Hey, I think your parents made the trip with you, too. That's pretty cool, man.
They did. Yes, they drove from Indiana as well. They took me. Thankfully, I didn't have to drive the 9 hours. That's all my dad, but yeah, they're here to support me, and I'm ready to go. I think it's going to be good.
Very cool. And I know a lot of the guys on the stage have, like, ripped some real race cars in real life, but you have come up through the sim world. How does a kid out there tonight, get started in that and advance so quickly to the main stage at Monday Night Racing?
Yeah, I'm the only guy here that hasn't raced professionally or in anything or been a part of racing professionally. And I don't know if that puts me at a disadvantage, or I think I'm good. I think it'll be fine. I've raced go-karts, and I hope to be racing these guys like this in real life professionally one of these days. So this is kind of what I'm doing to get to that point, and I think I can do it.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot, Presley. We'll bring James over here now. James, kind of a home race for you, right? James Bickford, ladies and gentlemen, welcome him to the stage. James, my man, you were, I think, first through the door this morning, getting prepared, getting set up. You brought your own rig. What kind of advantage is that going to give you tonight? Like, explain it to the people at home, maybe first-time viewers, what that actually means.
Look, I think it's an advantage, but honestly, for bringing my own rig, you can thank David Schildhouse right over there for that one, baby. Yeah. I came in clutch for the Schildren and the Schildhouse tonight. I wasn't planning on bringing my own rig, but Schildhouse was left out tonight. He didn't have a rig. I felt so bad that I ended up bringing my own rig, but I live 5 minutes away, so it's not that big a deal. But now, David Schildhouse right over by the bartender there. So when you're getting your drink tonight, just give him a pat on the shoulder, tell him he's doing a good job, and grab yourself some beer.
And of course, this is absolutely a home race, home event for you. You're repping Charlotte Phoenix. What's it going to mean to you to keep, I mean, you've been racing a minute, man. You have turned some laps all really over the country, online and on actual tracks. What's it mean if this trophy stays at home with you in the Carolina Esports Hub?
Look, it'd be pretty awesome. It'd be my first trophy ever from like a sim racing standpoint, so that would be pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to hopefully bringing that home, and obviously turning a lot of laps in real life racing and doing that quite a bit. Been racing for about 20 years now. This would be my first ever sim racing trophy, so hopefully taking the Pixels to victory lane tonight, because that would be pretty awesome.
I mean, trophies, physical trophies, aren't absolutely the most common thing in sim racing, so it'll be a kind of a rare thing anyway. So I saw you practicing earlier today. That entry onto pit road looks like it's a little bit tricky as it is in real life. What's the secret to tonight's race? Is it just a clean race? Is it ripping that high line, running the wall, Kyle Larson line? Where do you think you're going to be running?
I think it's going to be a mixture of lines. I'm honestly going to play it on the other drivers because I don't really know. The biggest thing is going to be protecting the right front because the right front is getting killed in our runs. It's a little bit of a tight race car, so we're going to have to deal with that, and we'll see what everybody else ends up doing, but you could see me at the wall, the middle line, the bottom. The awesome thing is you get to run any line at Homestead, and at the end of the day, the entrance to pit road, it's pretty wide, so it's not bad, 50 miles per hour. It's kind of a medium difficulty if I had to classify it.
Hey, that's good to know. He's a pro. He knows what's going on. If anybody was second runner-up for the swag game, it's the man wearing the North Wilkesboro hat tonight. Man, you ran a heck of a race last week. Oh, by the way, it's Colin Ferd, if you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen. The pride of Norwich, New York. Last week you won your way in onto this stage with, 11th to 1st in 2 laps? That was pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, it was a really cool run. I was really pissed off for about 90 seconds because I didn't know if I had the race won before the caution came out, and then finally we had the restart, and luckily Schildhouse didn't block me too bad, and Alfredo stuffed himself in the wall, so it made it pretty easy.
Absolutely. Hey, and so you're wrenching on Xfinity cars in real life. How does that help you prepare for tonight's race, setup-wise, strategy-wise? How do you balance the two, really, and how does that help out?
I definitely do not wrench. That is one thing I do not do. Okay. But no, it's going to help, just being around some of these guys, knowing some of their strengths, some of their weaknesses. I know Will Rogers is probably going to wheel hop at some point. I know Alfredo might have a tire advantage and, not take advantage of it. So, we might just be all right.
And that race last week, was that just pure luck on the strategy, or how long did you plan that out? Like, obviously you can't plan the spin late in the race that threw the caution, but how did you prepare for that? I mean, how did you even control your emotions in that sort of situation?
Yeah, there really wasn't any preparing for it. I was really slow. I was like 6th or 7th fastest, and I wasn't going to go up there and just drive past them, so I had to come up with a different strategy. And John Bauer, my spotter, was like, hey, you're only 3 laps short on fuel. So just started saving, and kind of got lucky with the caution. I think Cabot probably would have gotten there. I would have been much more aggressive about holding him off than he was holding me off. So I don't know how that would have turned out, but I'm glad it turned out the way it did.
Hey, and we, for a first-time viewer tonight, they might look at sim racing as just another video game that, the kids are out there playing. But you're talking about saving fuel. Like, this is pretty realistic stuff. For the first-time viewer out there, try to break it down to them, like how realistic this really is, and if it actually does transfer over onto the track, which we all know it does.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really cool because I didn't grow up with money, so I didn't really have the opportunity to go racing. I ran some late model stuff at Hickory and Dillon, but for me, this is as real as it gets, and that's why I do take it really seriously and try to succeed in it. But yeah, the saving fuel, saving tires, racecraft, knowing when and when not to make a pass, a lot of that is really important and really transfers over to a real race. So tonight's just going to be saving tires and being aggressive when you can.
Same question I asked our buddy James over here. What's the strategy for tonight? You're saying maybe save tires? Or are you going to be ripping the wall? What are we looking at, bud?
Well, I think it's going to depend on where I qualify. If I qualify like 15th, like I normally do, I'll probably save tires for a bit. If I qualify up front and have some speed, we'll just go to the top side and rip the fence and, I don't know, see where it plays out.
And I know you got a cool sponsor on the car tonight. Why don't we mention them right now? Big events going on up in Wilkesboro, right?
Yeah, it's actually really cool. Mamba Media, Mamba Smith hooked me up with North Wilkesboro and the Cars Tour. So it's really cool to represent them. They got a really big race up there this week, and it's going to be really exciting. I'm going up Wednesday. I got Mason Diaz for the win. He's driven for Vanderbilt Motorsports in the past, so I'm going to go with him for the win. But obviously a lot of people are going to be rooting for Dale Jr. too.
Very cool. Very cool. Hey, Colin Fern, number 86 on the track tonight. We'll be seeing a lot more of him during the race. And Hey, this is that guy. We've all seen the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the TV going, we know that guy. You are that guy here tonight, Anthony Alfredo. What's it mean for you to be on the stage? You've been on so many big stages in your career, Daytona 500, World 600, and now you're here on the Charlotte Esports Hub stage tonight for the championship. What's that mean for you?
Yeah, it's funny because it actually means a lot to me up there with some of those things, just because I have such a passion for esports and sim racing. So to be able to do it on a level like this is fun, and be a part of growing the sim racing industry and putting on some of the first live events. Everyone's done a great job with this league over the years. It's been fun to see it grow and I think I'm like third on the all-time win list or something like that. But the only time that I made a full championship run, I was in the Final Four, and I had like half a track lead, and my computer broke. So I've had that weight on my shoulders ever since. So I'm ready to just redeem myself for that, get some redemption, and then see what the future holds. But goal tonight's just to keep it out of trouble and see if we can be there at the end.
We've been talking about how rare a physical trophy is in sim racing. I don't know if I've ever heard of that. You've competed for some big trophies, but there might not be one more rare than this one in front of us tonight. So what do you have on the strategy table for taking the trophy off the table tonight?
I don't know. We'll have to see what the other guys do. Obviously, it's a race between the four of us. I don't think any of us are worried about any of the other guys in the league. There'll be a lot of guys who are probably fast, and you're going to have to remember, big pictures, the championship. So it'd be pretty cool to be hoisting that at the end of the night. It's definitely the goal. Big shout out to Zach from SimSeats, because he brought this beautiful rig down for me all the way from Richmond, Virginia, just so I could be comfortable and feel like I'm on my rig at home. So that'll give me an advantage for sure.
That is cool. We did, you were one of the dedicated. I know James has got his rig up here on the stage, but you were dedicated to bringing your rig all the way down. Also, I've noted, and for everybody at home who can't see, and I didn't really know this until coming into this, racing in socks, man, that's it seems like a popular thing. Just more comfortable, better feel. How's that work?
Yeah, I'm a sock guy, man. It just gives me a little bit more feel on the pedals. I think in the real life race, well, you obviously have to wear fireproof shoes, but I think just in the sim, you have a little bit less feel through the seat. So anywhere else you can gain some feel, I think helps me. I brought shoes, but I took them off. The racing shoes, they didn't help me.
I love it. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Alfredo, give him a round of applause. That said, I think James has the best sock game. He's got the polka dot socks on tonight. Love them. All right, gentlemen, any final thoughts before we get out of here real quick? All right. Let's talk about Presley's shirt just one more time. We've got Jerry Nadeau in the house tonight, right? That shirt's just about as old as Jerry, and it's definitely older than Presley. That is a Rusty Wallace, probably the 91 throwback. So if there's any question on if swag helps win the race tonight, Presley's got it won, guys. We gotta say, it's the curls too. Excellent. Well, gentlemen, thanks very much. We'll be seeing these guys racing in less than an hour right here on the Carolina Esports stage. With that, we're going to send it back to the booth. Gentlemen, thanks very much and best of luck tonight.
Well, thank you guys very much as we are live at the Charlotte Esports Hub in Charlotte, North Carolina. Joined alongside here with Kenneth Bueno, my broadcast partner, as well as our entire crew. We have Eric Eastup with the Out of the Groove pre-race show, as well as Darren, obviously, all the way over there on stage. Great job with those interviews, Darren, and even Jacob Hitz, who will be joining us on pit road a little bit later. But Kenneth, the entire build-up to this Season 5 is right here at Charlotte. It just seems like yesterday, almost, that we were here in February to crown a champion, and yet we are back once again.
It has been such a blur, Blake, over through Season 5 to get to this very moment. It's been a culmination of 15 different races, 15 different combos, and many different winners along the way, Blake. And I think that's what's going to make this championship event so much more exciting, so much more anxiety, I guess, for some of the drivers and for us even here in the booth as well on Podium Esports. This building, the atmosphere is unbelievable. The drivers are getting set, and this championship at Homestead-Miami Speedway, probably the perfect setting to hoist the Bob Jenkins Memorial Trophy in real life. So it's going to be awesome.
Well, and thinking back to where we were in February here, I think that makes this championship so much more difficult. You think of all the factors that everybody in sim racing, they have their setup at home. They're comfortable. They got their dog there. I mean, everything is set up there for comfort. You come to a stage, you have a live crowd in front of you. It's a totally different setup. And even for drivers that are driving in real life, mixed in with the sim racers here, this is a totally different element for them. I think that makes this championship so much more prestigious to win.
That's what makes it so special. And even for the guys who have been here last season, the first time that M&R did a live event at the Carolina Esports Hub, they're still feeling the atmosphere. It's been a while since they've gone here to this Carolina Esports Hub to race for a championship or even to race just in the season finale if they weren't in the playoffs in that championship four. So that's, again, what makes this place and what makes this environment so much more different and so much more exciting for all the fans, all of us, all the drivers. It's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity for these guys to be up here on stage, have a little bit of fun, and of course, for those four on stage, run for that title and be able to celebrate at the very end.
Certainly so, as we are getting set here to have an incredible battle here at the Homestead-Miami Speedway tonight. Again, we are running the trucks tonight for this Season 5 finale at a track that is so set up to host a wonderful championship race. As we're going to toss it to Ford Martin right now, who is caught up with somebody who's very important with everything that's going on here at the Charlotte Esports Hub and putting this on, and Rick Suarez. Ford, how we doing?
Blake, and we're here with Rick Suarez, and Rick, this has been a pretty outstanding event that we have here tonight. To have four champions here on stage, battling for the Bob Jenkins Memorial Trophy here. Kind of give us a little bit about the Carolina Esports Hub for those that are not familiar with that are watching away.
Sure. This is a little bit lower mic, but the Carolina Esports Hub, we've been in this venue now for a little over a year, and we do everything esports and really event focused in general. For us, it's really about putting on a great show for you guys. Kudos to you and your team for bringing Monday Night Racing back here. I know in February, I think Adam Cabot won the inaugural live race.
Yes.
So I'll be curious to see who wins this one. I have my betting favorite. He's got a Phoenix jersey on. But at the end of the day, you know, it's really about getting a good crowd in and having some fun, some food, watching a great race, some beverages. I understand we've got people coming in from Pennsylvania.
We have people driving from Pennsylvania, Indiana, so
it's unbelievable. That's fantastic. But it goes, again, kudos to you and your team, just based on what you've been able to do over the first few years of Monday Night Racing and kind of what it's grown to be.
Well, I'll ask you here real quick. Before you've hosted Rocket League, Fortnite tournaments out here at the Hub. Obviously not many people know about iRacing within esports. What's kind of your first impressions on events like this compared to these Rocket League and Fortnite tournaments you've had here?
Well, definitely a lot of energy in the crowd, a lot of excitement. I think a good portion of it is watching the race is something that everyone can relate to, whether you're at the live at Charlotte Motor Speedway doing it here or on television at home, right? It looks and feels the same, which is great. Whereas with some of the other competitions, it's a little different, whether it's Rocket League or anything else. But esports is such a growing sport in demand that we host so many different types of events here. We're just proud to be able to host you guys for a second time, and with the turnout that you guys have, hopefully we'll keep this thing going.
Well, it should be an excellent event. We're glad to have everyone out here at the Carolina Esports Hub for this tonight. Blake, Kenneth, I think it wraps things up from here, but looking forward to a great show here tonight.
I'll go and take things over from here. This is pretty cool. I've never done this, bouncing back and forth from Charlotte to Texas. Thanks everyone for coming out. We're going to turn things over next to Jacob Hitz, typically part of our three-man broadcast booth, always running up and down that virtual pit road. Want to get some late-breaking stories before driver intros. Jacob, first off, hope you got me. And secondly, what are some, what do you believe are going to be the biggest challenges these drivers face tonight at Homestead in the trucks?
It's certainly going to be interesting for these guys in the trucks here tonight. Thank you, Eric, and good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, can't quite be down in Charlotte, but nonetheless, glad to be here for what should be a pretty darn good championship race, and I can't wait until we get to our picks later on in the program. And Eric, I tell you what, with this racetrack, with this track car combination or truck combination, if you will, it's going to provide a lot of challenges as far as conserving the tires. And in talking with some drivers, some that are in the championship for, some that are out of the championship for, it's going to be about saving a set of tires maybe for the end if there's a late race yellow. Kind of like what we saw last week when we were at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. We've got the same sort of situation coming tonight. They've got 4 sets of tires on pit road. If they feel like they need to use them, we're probably going to see most, if not all, use all 4 sets. Depends on when we get caution flags, if we get caution flags. Historically, our in-person events, the championship finale at the end of last season and the in-person event that we had a few races ago during the playoffs, they have been, pretty good as far as on-track action, and we haven't seen many or any caution flags, and we'll see how that pans out here tonight. And in talking with David Schildhouse in particular, I wanted to kind of gauge the feel for guys that have been in that environment before at the Carolina Esports Hub and how it is with driving and everything. I talked with Schildhouse. I talked with Justin Malillo. Both guys were there racing in person a season ago. Schildhouse, he was on the big stage, part of that championship 4. And something that David had talked about to me was the fact that he thought the lights, the crowd, everything was going to be too distracting for him. Once he got up on that stage, once he started driving, he realized that really wasn't the case. He noticed one point where the crowd really got into it. Late in the race, Adam Cabot, David Schildhouse banging doors down the front straightaway. That was probably the only time he felt that the crowd really it got to him, and it certainly got his attention and made things a lot more special, if I can find the right verbiage that he used for that. Of course, I can't find it quickly, at least, but nonetheless, that was something that stood out in his mind as far as something that just makes this so much more special than having a regular championship race. By doing this in person, the atmosphere is unlike anything that these drivers may ever see again, depending on what the next season looks like. And I know that schedule may or may not have been released earlier today as well, but we're just going to have to wait and see how things go tonight as far as strategy. We know Colin Fern pulled something out of left field to make the championship 4 with his move last week at Atlanta when he decided to stay out, try and make it to the end. Then that caution came out after Garrett Smithley got sideways. That allowed Colin Fern to take tires, and then in those 2 laps, he was able to blitz through the field and come home with the checkered flag. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to pull something out of the hat like that tonight. We'll just have to wait and see. I know qualifying, according to these guys, is going to be a big factor. If you qualify up front, you're going to have a better shot than somebody that qualifies in mid-pack. That could be a little more difficult for somebody like a Colin Fern. If he starts mid-pack, he's going to have to rely on strategy compared to somebody else like a James Bickford, who's been on pole a lot this season, and in his M&R career, he winds up on pole position tonight. It may be very difficult to get by him and unseat him at the front, maybe with some strategy. We're just going to have to wait and see, Eric. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. I can't wait to get this thing underway. I know you can't wait either. Kenneth, Blake, at the Esports Hub, they're going to be having a lot of fun, and we'll be covering it all on pit road as things pan out. A lot of drivers, possibly a lot of different strategies tonight, and I hope that is the case, and we get some drama like we had a week ago at Atlanta. Let's go back to Eric.
Yeah, you're killing it over there, Jacob. Good stuff. Yeah, we have a few more minutes here before driver intros, which again are in person on that stage. Really, really exciting. I do want to talk about that season 6 schedule for just a moment if I have it pulled up. Oh, it's pulled up for me. Wow, the magic of television. Just announced today, Monday Night Racing season 6 will begin November 7th at Talladega in the next gen cars. You can see once again a ton of different types of vehicles from NASCAR to they'll run the MX-5s at the Daytona Road Course once again. IndyCar, Open 19. They'll run the 87 cars at some point. It's once again a great schedule, great diverse schedule with a variety of tracks, a variety of race cars. You can see the playoffs will wrap up just before the beginning of the NASCAR regular season in February of 2024. 3. So that's pretty great stuff. Excited for season 6. Already looking ahead, despite still looking to crown a champion for season 5 here tonight. Now, Jacob, while I have you here, and I know you're the wizard up and down pit road, you know exactly what all these drivers and teams have been talking about. We heard James Bickford earlier on stage talk about how he feels maybe right front's been getting worn out faster. Or do you think last week at Atlanta, we ran old Atlanta, lots of tire wear, came down to Colin Fern trying to hold off Adam Cabot until all of a sudden Fern had the tires and was on the offense. Do you think tonight's race will come down to that kind of tire strategy? You mentioned everyone has 4 sets. Well, I guess 3 plus the ones they start on. Or do you feel like this race is going to maybe have a few more cautions and we'll see maybe who has the right set of tires left at the end, or just who can be the most aggressive? Do you think tire wear will be as big a deal at Miami as it was at Atlanta?
Tire wear is definitely going to be a factor. I know in talking with David Schildhouse, he said that, look, you're going to want to save that extra set for the end of the race. Now, one thing, we do have 4 sets sitting on pit road. They are starting on that 5th set. So in the distance that we have, I believe 125 laps is the distance for tonight. They have 4 sets that they can use plus the set that they start on. So they're in the same boat pretty much that they were in Atlanta. The difference is the fact that this track going to have a little bit more grip because we're running under the lights. The surface is a little bit newer. It repaved, I believe, in the mid-2000s, early to mid-2000s. It's not like Atlanta where you're racing on a cheese grater. It's not going to abuse the tires as much here. Depending on the line you pick, that may have something to do with it. But I think tire strategy is going to have a big impact tonight, Eric, and we're going to have to see who decides to pull a Colin Fern strategy and decide to make those tires last really, really far. And I think cautions could be a factor as well. If we get multiple cautions tonight like we did a week ago, that could kind of set the strategy pace as whether or not people decide they're going to take tires or not. The risk, if we get a caution about halfway through a run, if you stay out and not a lot of people join you, you're going to be falling to the back pretty quickly because you're going to get eaten alive. That is the risk of staying out and trying to get off strategy with everybody else. If you have enough friends that go with you, there's always a shot that you can hold those guys back. But when we get those situations, Eric, that's also when we lead to more carnage, more wrecks, and yes, more cautions.
Yeah, cautions breed cautions. Well said. One final question I have for you. I'm not going to ask you to give me your race or championship picks just yet, but a little while ago during the pre-race show, I asked our live chat here on YouTube who their pick to win the title was between Anthony Alfredo, Presley Sora, James Bickford, and Colin Fern. 65% going Anthony Alfredo to 13% Sorah, 11% Fern, and 9% Bickford. Do you think tonight, Jacob, I'll ask it this way. Do you think we'll see one of the championship 4 drivers get the win, or do you think it'll be someone else? We mentioned a few drivers like Ryan Vargas, David Schildhouse, Corey Heim, you name it. Do you think someone else will steal this victory away from the championship contenders?
Let's put it this way. The driver that wins the championship is not going to win this race. That is where I stand right now. The talent pool is too good. Adam Cabot, he could storm up here and say, you know what? Screw you guys. You didn't let me in the championship 4. I couldn't make it. I'm going to go win this race. Same thing with David Schildhouse. Corey Heim is in the field. He has been fast everywhere we have gone this season. He has been a threat to win just about everywhere, including last week at Atlanta before he sped on pit road, and it cost him a shot at the checkered flag. The championship 4 guys are going to be strong. There's no doubt about it in my mind. They're all going to finish inside the top 5, if not the top 10, if not the top 5. It depends, though, if anybody winds up in trouble. We all remember what happened a season ago when Colin Fern and Shane Van Gisbergen made contact going into turn number 1 on the opening lap. That could always happen tonight because you only have 4 guys fighting for a championship. You've got 30 more guys that are just fighting for a race win. We're going to have to keep that in mind. But I really think that somebody on the outside looking in is going to be the guy going to victory lane tonight. It is not going to be one of your championship 4. And I'm surprised that difference from your chat is that big. Anthony Alfredo way out in front of everybody else. I'm not so sure about that. I think it's a little closer than the experts in the chat think.
Hey, nobody wants a blowout. Everyone likes to keep things close and competitive, but a lot of pasta fans in the live YouTube chat. I believe it's now time for driver intro, so I'm going to turn things back over to Darren at the Carolina Esports Hub, where we're going to meet the entire field for tonight's race.
Indeed it is, Eric. Time for driver introductions from the Carolina Esports Hub. Driver of the number 1, Battle Beaver Toyota, the pride of German Street, Dushore, Pennsylvania, Gary Sexton. Driver of the number 20, TobyChristie.com Chevrolet from Charlotte, North Carolina, David Schildhouse. In the number 53, Traction.GG Ford from Long Island, New York, Justin Malillo. In the number 10, NASCAR Ford from Westfield, New Jersey, DJ Cummings. Representing the Aloha State in the number 55 Toyota TRD Pro from Maui, Hawaii, Will Rogers. In the number 51 Crescent Tools Toyota from Marietta, Georgia, give it up for Corey Heim. In the number 24, Grit Marketing Chevrolet from Waxhaw, North Carolina, Nick Olson. He's a bit of a legend, so let's give it up for the driver of the number 37, Shine Chevy from Rome, Georgia, Travis Moonhead Brown. Coming out of Richmond, Virginia, in the number 27 Front Stretch Chevrolet, Michael Massey. In the number 41 Tipico Sportsbook Chevrolet from Charlotte, North Carolina, Matt Stolnick. He's basically Superman, ladies and gentlemen. He's done a costume change and he's ready to race for you in the number 07 Nash Collection Chevrolet from Nashville, Tennessee, Ford Martin. Now in the number 4 Queen City News Toyota from Rochester, New York, Brent Baldeck. Coming out of Hollywood, Florida, in the number 60 Shine Chevrolet, Brad Perez. In the number 6 Swan Security Chevrolet from La Mirada, California, Ryan Vargas. And a man who knows all about winning on Mondays, the driver of the number 25 Pit Road Network Ford from Danbury, Connecticut, Jerry Nadeau. And now, it's time to meet your championship 4. Driver of the number 98 Club Jerky Ford from Cambridge City, Indiana, with 2 wins on the season, Presley Sora. In the number 29 Charlotte Phoenix Next Level Racing Toyota from Napa, California, with 1 win on the season, James Bickford. The pride of Norwich, New York, with that walk-off win last week in Atlanta, the number 86 Cars Tour North Wilkesboro Speedway Chevrolet is driven by Colin Fern. And finally, the driver of the number 23 Sim Seat Chevy from Richfield, Connecticut, with 2 wins on the season, Anthony Alfredo. Ladies and gentlemen, your in-house drivers for the Monday Night Racing Season 5 Championship Finale. We're going to take a quick break and be back right after this. More from the Carolina Esports Hub.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going. Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street, everywhere. Interstate batteries, outrageously dependable.
I ain't tryna break you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. Everybody wanna be like us, we don't stop, cause the top just ain't enough. I'm the first one in and the last one out. Whoever owns the place gotta drag me out. Came here ready to fight on this night, you better just run for your life.
And welcome back to our coverage of Season 5 for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries and our championship finale from the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. Blake McCandless and myself, Kenneth Bueno, along with you for the ride here on Podium Esports. We also have Eric Estep, our Out of the Groove pre-race show host, and Jacob Hitz, our pit road reporter. We'll be talking to him a couple of times throughout tonight's event from Homestead. Well, it is our favorite time, Blake, isn't it?
It certainly is, Kenneth, as we get to give away our picks. Who do we think is going to win this championship and win this race tonight? So, actually, we'll start off with some of our colleagues that aren't here in Charlotte. We'll throw it to Eric and Jacob. We'll let you guys go ahead and kind of give us the spoils here before we give up our picks here.
I'll go and take it first. I was watching Daytona this past weekend. I know this is a real race. This isn't the sim racing, I suppose, but I loved what that 23 car was doing late Friday night into Saturday morning. So I'm going with Anthony Alfredo. I think he's my pick to win the Season 5 championship. How about you, Jacob?
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic. This guy has not set a lap in practice, but I know he set a lot of laps earlier on today. As they mentioned in driver interviews, he was the first guy in the door. I wasn't going to pick him initially, but the more I thought about it, the more I liked about James Bickford. I'm going to take James Bickford over everybody else. He's going to win the championship tonight.
All right, so I guess I'll go next here before we get to our play-by-play commentator Blake McCandless. I'm also going to side with Eric Estep here. I'm going with one of the most decorated drivers in Monday Night Racing history, and that is, of course, NASCAR Xfinity Series driver Anthony Alfredo. He is the only one, mind you, only one out of this Championship 4 to have been in a Championship 4 once before back in Season 2 at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. He is third on the all-time win list in MNR. He's one of the best, and he definitely has a good record, Blake, at Homestead-Miami Speedway. 2 wins with a Gen 6 Cup car with high downforce and some good power behind it. I'm taking Anthony Alfredo with a championship here in Season 5.
All right, well, we have 2 picks for Anthony, 1 for James Bickford. I'm going to go with the young gun in Presley Sora, someone who has run his way through the road to glory ranks, and I think is going to be able to withstand this pressure. He's the furthest traveling Championship 4 driver flying down here from Indiana, but I think Presley Sora going to be able to get it done. Interesting note, 3 of the drivers were picked, not Colin Fern. I wonder if that's a little bit of motivation for driver 86 tonight. But before we get started from the Homestead-Miami Speedway tonight, we'll throw it down for our pre-race ceremonies.
Hey, thanks very much, Blake. Darren Denman here on the floor of the Carolina Esports Hub. And, we've got Natalie Decker with us. We've seen her on racetrack from Daytona, all over the country. And now you're here at the Carolina Esports Hub tonight. Pretty exciting night in downtown Charlotte. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me here, and this is just amazing. This is my first time here, and this is just wonderful. Thanks for having me, and I kind of wish I was out here racing.
It would be very cool. Hey, you're pretty involved in the streaming community and in the iRacing community. Tell us a little bit about what you've got going on with that.
Yeah, I recently got into streaming on Twitch, and I just fell in love with it. You know, we use iRacing to practice for real-life races, and once I started streaming it on Twitch and I just made this huge community on there, I fell in love with it, and now I just feel like it's the future, and I love doing it, and I think definitely tonight this has made me fall more in love with iRacing.
Absolutely. Hey, Natalie, thanks for taking the time with us tonight, and thanks for coming out tonight. Hopefully we'll see you maybe up on the stage sometime here real soon.
Maybe, you never know.
Hey, Natalie Decker, ladies and gentlemen, from the Carolina Esports Hub on the main floor. We're going to send it back to the booth right now for a little more pre-race ceremony.
Well, we're very happy to have Natalie here, as well as so many other fresh faces here that you see throughout the industry here that have decided to join us here tonight in the Charlotte Esports Hub. But now, let's go ahead and throw it down for our pre-race ceremonies to get cranked it up for tonight.
All right, would you join me for a quick moment of prayer? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to participate in this event this evening. We're grateful for all those that have worked so hard to make it possible. And Lord, we pray right now that you would be with our men and women that serve and protect this great country. Lord, and those here domestically that do the same, that serve. Evening, we commit it to you. We give you the thanks in Christ's name. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much. As we are getting set for this race at the Homestead-Miami Speedway tonight, Kenneth, why don't we go ahead and take a look at our race analysis for this championship fight tonight?
Well, our race analysis is very similar to the championship back in Season 3. We're running the same 125 laps, roughly 300 kilometers here from Homestead, South Florida, so we're going to go the same distance. It is going to be somewhat of a long race. If we get long green flag runs, we'll see exactly what happens, but we've got 75% on the fuel load, usually the fuel load for our NASCAR-type competition with the car. cars and the trucks tonight. We have 4 sets on pit road. We'll be talking to Jacob Hitz a lot about that on pit road, which drivers use what set. And like last week, how important tire sets are, especially if we get a late race restart. We only have 1 fast repair given to every single driver tonight, so if you get into a wreck, you can tick off that fast repair, get a clean, fresh race truck, and be back on your way, but you only have that 1 opportunity to do so. And Blake, if we do go to overtime and need to extend this race from Homestead under the lights, we have those 3 attempts to get it done.
Oh, you just had to bring that up, right? Bringing up memories of last Monday night when we were at Atlanta just a week ago, and actually had a big outcome on who is sitting on stage here tonight for this Championship 4. A very important thing to take note of is we'll take a look at our track facts tonight at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. Again, very well-known 1.5 mile, 4 turns, and this is what we love about this racetrack, Kenneth. Banking from 18 to 20 degrees, progressive banking, so you're going to see drivers able to use every part of this Homestead-Miami Speedway tonight to find speed, clean air, whatever they want to do, they are able to do that. Pit road speed down to 45 miles an hour. It's a tough exit, a little deceiving to get down on a pit road here at Homestead-Miami Speedway, but again, such a fitting track, I think, to settle this one out.
Yeah, and this track, Blake, has been the NASCAR Cup Series championship location for 17 years before they switched it over to the Phoenix Raceway. It's my home track. I've seen a lot of great races in person and in sim here from South Florida, and it's just amazing to see the story of how this track came to be. Back in 1992, when Hurricane Andrew destroyed South Florida and Miami-Dade County, Ralph Sanchez, the promoter, decided, hey, we need to stimulate this economy, so what better way than to build a racetrack? And build a racetrack they did. They had a small, somewhat Indianapolis-style racetrack, smaller than the track over at the Brickyard, but then they reconfigured it, had a normal oval configuration with low banking, then gave it that progressive banking in 2003, and that's the magic of a track that we see here and we're going to have tonight for the championship.
It's gone through a lot of changes, that's for sure, but it has formed up into one of the best venues that's not only in the real life side of things, but on iRacing as well. But folks, we won't make you wait any longer as we are going to get things cranked up as we'll throw it down for the command to ESPN Fantasy Football host, Field Yates.
It is the Monday Night Racing Season 5 Championship. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, start your engines!
We are all ready and set to go after that. Field for offering his help here, and of course Mike Clay, who has been a participant here for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries all season long, as we are going to take a look at our starting grid tonight. We will see it right there. We are just now seeing live the results of qualifying, and you can see right there Anthony Alfredo, the quickest time in qualifying. 2 Championship 4 contenders will make up the front row. Anthony Alfredo and Colin Fern will be your top 2 starters tonight. Starting in third in row number 2 to the inside will be the number 10 of DJ Cummings. You have Corey Heim, who has been very competitive on the outside there in row number 2. Move a further row back to row number 3. It'll be Brad Perez starting on the inside in 5th position. Presley Sora, another one of our championship contenders, he will have to start from the 6th position tonight. Got down in that 33-second bracket, did Sorah. Adam Cabot, your champion from last year. We talked about potential redemption for him tonight to go out and win. He'll start 7th. Gabe Wood, the owner of what will be, I think, a new tattoo, he will start in 8th. Devin Henry will roll off from the 9th starting spot, and starting in 10th tonight to his outside, Preston Pardis.
And over into row number 6, you'll find Cabot Esports' Bailey Turner in the 5. He starts 11. He will have Max Kennan in the 21 to his outside in 12. David Schildhouse with the TobyDucrissi.com colors in the 20 machine. He will roll off from P13. And behind him in row number 7, you'll find the number 6 of Ryan Vargas, the La Mirada, California native. Travis Moonhead Brown starts this race inside the top 15 from Homestead-Miami Speedway. And he will have former NASCAR driver Jeff Green in the 38 to his outside in P16. That lines up row number 8. It'll be Seth Eggert and James Bickford, 17th and 18th. James Bickford, one of the deepest drivers in the championship for Blake to start this race. He's going to have a lot of work on his hands cut out for him when we get that green flag. And the final 2 into our top 20. Seminole, Florida's Robbie Lyons, the champion from season 3, here from this very track in sim, and the Flying Hawaiian, Will Rogers, in the 55.
You'll see the rest of the starting field scroll across the bottom of your screen, but we got some more people to talk to here at the Esports Hub. Hub. Darren?
Thanks, guys. I'm down here on the floor of the Carolina Esports Hub with one of those qualified guys in the room, Jerry Nadeau. How's it going, bud?
I'm doing well, trying to find my way around this place.
And, you know a thing or two about winning big races, season-ending races on Mondays. That's when your first Cup race won. I won that. I might be aging myself, but that was just a couple years ago. What do you think your chances are here tonight? A lot of young guys in the crowd who really know their way around the sim.
Well, I'm doing this for all the TBI patients out there. You know, I obviously had a pretty massive head injury, and I'm just having a good time. You know, I'm not as, I guess you could say, as sharp as I used to be, but this is all fun. I mean, I'm all about racing for sure. I'm probably the biggest race fan out there. Just can't do it, but I like to play.
I mean, you're doing it tonight with these guys, and it's great to have you out here. Jerry, any advice to the kids out there, looking to get into the sport, especially into sim racing? Any advice out there for them?
Well, I do think the sim racing is really cool, but I would say I would definitely have a backup. And that's one thing I didn't have growing up is I was all about racing. So, yeah, I would say at least have a backup, get a degree or do something, have another job besides racing.
Awesome. Hey, and Jerry's getting ready to go here from the Carolina Esports Hub. Jerry, thanks very much. Have a great night. Good luck out there. Gents, back to you in the...
Thank you so much, Darren. And, man, is it good to see Jerry out here. He was out here early, and he has had such a fun time here tonight. We are glad to have him here in the Charlotte Esports Hub, as well as everybody else, drivers, fans alike. There are so many people who have packed into this Charlotte Esports Hub to enjoy this second live edition of this Monday Night Racing Pro Series Championship presented by Interstate Batteries. You can see them scrolling right there on your screen. Anthony Alfredo and Colin Fern making up your front row. You can see a little bit of sunshine out there, so going to be a little bit of a hotter track, and it's going to progress into the daytime here. It is morning time in Sim. It's obviously about 8:06 Eastern where we are live here in Charlotte. It's going to make for a track that is going to heat up as the race goes along, Kenneth.
Yeah, it's definitely true, and this track is obviously going to change, and it's going to turn back to your point, Blake, when you were going over the track facts here at Homestead-Miami, that progressive banking. We're going to see a lot of experimentation, drivers seeing which lines are better, whether it's all the way tucked to that white line at the bottom, whether it's at the very middle, that first seam, or if drivers are brave enough, go all the way to that outside wall and try not to get a scratch from it. We've seen real-life drivers get scratches from that outside wall. They've tested the grip up there, so we'll see exactly how things roll when we get the green.
Lights are off on the pace truck. It will dive to the safety of pit lane. The field is lined up, 38 ready to do battle for you here tonight in Charlotte. We will crown a champion tonight. Green flag in the air, and we are underway in this Monday Night Racing Championship. You can see Anthony Alfredo already off at turn number 2, has several truck lengths of a lead, and they are going to go 3 wide for second. Colin Fern going to go right to the top of the racetrack. Then you have DJ Cummings, Brad Perez on the bottom.
Yeah, Fern with a sluggish start already on lap number 1, and we're already 3 wide, 2 rows deep. Look at Corey Heim, that black number 51 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro, running the very top. Brad Perez looking inside on Cummings for second as Colin Fern falls back to 4th.
We know that it's going to be a little bit loose, is what I've heard from the drivers on these first couple of laps, but off at turn number 2, you see a handful of trucks that are pretty stable right now as you see them continuing to battle. Colin Fern continuing to lose spots.
And he's holding that outside lane right now. There's Colin Fern on the very high side. Adam Cabot down there. Corey Heim, the 51, the 17. And there's also Championship 4 driver Presley Sora already hunting for second in the championship. But the problem here already, Blake, is that they're letting Anthony Alfredo run away. He's opened the gap up to Brad Perez around 0.6 of a second in the opening laps.
Well, and you see a little bit of contact there between Colin Fern, and I believe he was trying to give a push right there to Corey Heim just a moment ago on the front straightaway. It looks like neither truck is worse for the wear right there. And one of the unique things, Kenneth, that I think about this live event, I just heard a driver behind me say something about, oh, there's almost a moment right there. I've never really had that before. I don't even know who it was, but it was somebody out here who sounded like they were pretty loose off the corner.
You know, when you bring all the drivers together, Blake, in a scenario like this, especially in the championship, you're going going to have those visceral reactions where they get loose and they're like, oh, I'm getting loose, or if something happens, you can hear their reaction immediately out from when it happens. You watch the side-by-side battle. Inside the top 10, this is Gabe Wood, Preston Pardis going at it. Pardis trying to side draft a little bit going into turn 3, but of course not going to stall off that 50. They're going to open the door up for Ryan Vargas in the 6, and already, Blake, experimentation, not necessarily the biggest factor as Pardis gets a little loose out of turn 4. We may see it later on as the night will begin to fall and the lights will flicker on here at Homestead-Miami Speedway, but for now, everybody singling out on that very inside lane, and you watch Presley Sora right in front of him trying to catch up to Adam Cabot.
Well, I'm very interested here, Kenneth, that we're seeing them run the very bottom of the track. Typically, from what we've seen, or at least what I've seen in my experience with iRacing, you'll see most of the field kind of favor right above that bottom seam. It's typically where you'll see them running, but everybody electing to go right to the bottom of the racetrack right now, aside from Preston Pardis, who is either trying to get down in line, and he's going to be able to do so there, right back in the 9th position behind Gabe Wood. But on the left-hand side of your screen right there, you see the graphics on screen. There are only 4 names that you'll see in green. That is because we have trimmed down this championship field from what started with 13 drivers down to 4. You can see Anthony Alfredo, at least for the moment, at the top of that pile. Colin Fern has fallen back to 5th. Presley Sora in 7th, and James Bickford, we were talking about a little bit before we went green, Kenneth, that Bickford qualifying has been his strong suit. He won the pole last weekend. He's won several poles this season. He started back in 18th, so as far as a championship performance right here, didn't start the way that I'm sure he would have liked to.
It's been a tough start, but he is slowly making up positions. He's already moved up to 14th, and he's making an outside charge here on Max Kennan. This is for the 13th spot on the racetrack out of turn 2. So despite the problems in the opening 2 laps of his qualifying stint, it looks like the race pace may be there for the Charlotte Phoenix number 29. And also, to add in a little pressure, Bickford is at his hometown, his home building, the Charlotte Phoenix. He's got a bunch of the drivers here in the Carolina Esports Hub, and of course all the Charlotte Phoenix workers probably cheering him on as the 29 clears for 13th, and he will have a good shot at his fellow Charlotte Phoenix Esports teammate, David Schildhaus, trying to go at it with Bailey Turner. That's for 11th.
When I was kind of thinking for James Bickford, that's a huge advantage, right? That you're comfortable. You've been in this building before. You're using what is a very a setup that you're used to using here at this facility. So I was thinking it would be a little bit less of an adjustment for James Bickford, but still has plenty of time. I mean, you look up on the board, we're on lap 8 of 125. Now to lap number 9, so still a long way to go. But up front, that gap that Anthony Alfredo had over 2nd place is starting to trim down just a little bit. And how about this? It is Brad Perez, non-championship contender, but he has slowly been reeling in the leaders.
Yeah, he's been putting up some solid laps. Last time by 33.853 with Alfredo's 33.931. So Brad Perez says, and there's a problem on the back straightaway, and it's David Schildhaus. Multiple others involved. Saw one go hard into the inside safer barrier. And that will bring out, Blake, our first caution here from the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. We're going to officially categorize that, I believe, as Ron Capps in the 28, and his Toyota Tundra TRD Pro goes for a slam on the very bottom of the racetrack. Caution out, first time on lap 10.
Well, remember, it was early in the championship race last season. I believe it was lap number 1 that we had the only true incident of the night, but you could see Schildhaus there just got a little high. And, you know, honestly, with the way that wheel reacted, that looked like a mechanical issue. And I'm sure I can maybe even turn around to David and get confirmation on that. But the way that wheel locked, that did not look like a natural hit. We'll get one more look here off of turn number 2. So you can see Schildhaus is in the middle of the racetrack right now. He's battling side by side off the corner. And, well, actually, no, he got a little bit of help right there into the outside wall. But at this point, at some point, well, actually, no, that wasn't a mechanical issue. It looks like he just got a little bit of contact and shoved into the wall right there.
And there was also problems, Blake, for Jerry Nadeau in the 25. It looked like he tried to find the hole in the wall in between the back end of Schildhaus's truck and the very outside wall, but he got tagged at the very last second. So Jerry Nadeau already towing it to pit road. Such a tough start for one of the drivers that's actually here in person at the Carolina Esports Hub. But one thing I want to mention while we're under this first caution, Blake, is the fact that points have been the topic all season long and through the playoffs. We've been kind of freaking out about it in the broadcast booth. The drivers have been very anxious about it too. But now tonight it doesn't matter. You throw all the points out the window, and now it's all about finishing ahead of the other 3, and you are the champion. I think that's something that's worth noting here at an event, is that in this playoff system, points don't matter. You don't need to be in a certain position at a certain time and have these drivers finish in certain places. You just have to be ahead of them. It doesn't matter whether it's 1, 2, or 15 spots. You just have to be in front of all the other 3, and you're hoisting that trophy at the end of the night.
Well, and Jacob, I'll throw it down to you. We see 4 of our championship competitors staying out on the racetrack, but a fair amount coming down pit road.
Blake, and it's really some mixed strategy. Ford Martin, he's going to take 4 tires. David Schildhouse, he's going to take the 4 plus the faster pair after his damage. I don't believe either Ron Capps or Jerry Nadeau checked the faster pair. They are still sitting on pit road. They've got a lot of damage to fix. They're going to be on pit road for a long time the rest of the way. Charlie Brown got some damage. He used his faster pair under this caution flag. Everybody else has not used theirs yet, and most of the calls so far, anywhere from 5 to 7 seconds in the box.
Can I ask what they were laughing about?
I would think that's about fuel only for these guys pitting in the back of the field, like Preston Pardis, Nick Olson, George Belfans Jr., and on throughout the field. None of your championship 4 coming on to pit road. And one thing I want to hit, guys, before we get back to green, some potential issues for the driver of the 21 of Max Kennan. He came over the radio after a couple of laps and said, I'm about to blow up. His water temperatures have skyrocketed when we were under green. Mark Urbillis came over the radio and asked how everybody's water temps were doing. Max Kennan said the gauge is blinking. So things getting hot under the hood for Max Kennan. And, well, it's a good thing maybe that caution came out, because if it didn't, he may have cooked that motor to death. We'll have to keep an eye on it. He's P11 right now on the racetrack, guys.
Well, thank you very much, Jacob. And, you know, while Jacob was given that hit, you know, this is, again, something that's so unique about this live event, is I was able to go over and hear some of the discussion. So we didn't hear anybody kind of yelling at each other here, but we heard a lot of laughter. It was a reaction to a driver comment that was made, and it was kind of cool to hear the entire room just kind of erupt there for a second.
Well, you left me hanging at the table, first of all, which you got to apologize for. But seriously, I think that's one of the great things about being in person here at the Carolina Esports Hub, is that you can make a little funny remark, you can talk to the driver right next to you, and you can have a little moment like that. You can laugh about things, you can talk about the race. Remember, a lot of these guys, majority of them, the ones that aren't on stage, they're not running for the championship, so they can just kind of hang around, talk with each other, see, hey, what's the strategy here? Hey, what are we doing here? Hey, how's the truck feeling? How is this setup? And like guys like Max Kennan, you know, he's not here at the Carolina Esports Hub, but if he was, he could talk to the others about, hey, my truck is having problems and it may be blowing up very soon. Hopefully that doesn't seem to be the case for the 21. Hopefully it doesn't end up in a group of smoke by the time this one is over. We'll just have to see as the field will get the 1 to green signal, and we should go to our restart here, Blake, in just a couple of moments.
And I won't give details, but it was a disagreement there between David Schildhouse and race control Josh Mendoza. Mendoza, and it's a Monday Night Racing rule that the race control can decide to mute somebody's chat. But Josh, I will remind you that you can't mute them here. We still hear them regardless of if you mute them in iRacing. As you see, the lights are off on the pace truck. The front row, similar to what we had, Anthony Alfredo is still up there in the top spot, but Brad Perez, strong here early, has made his way up into second. Green flag is back out as Alfredo gets a great launch to the start-finish line, starting lap number 15, and you can see him already starting to fan out 2 and 3 wide behind him.
And again, this is one of the strong shoots of Anthony Alfredo, Blake, here at this Homestead-Miami Speedway. He's been in situations like this, not necessarily a random restart at lap number 14, but he's been in a place where he's had to master restart after restart in a late race situation with the race in overtime and the win on the line as well. So another good start here for the 23, the SimSeats machine, but the Hollywood, Florida native, Brad Perez, already looking there for the lead. Corey Heim to follow as well. It's a trio coming out of turn 4, side by side for position behind. That's Adam Cabot and DJ Cummings.
Don't write off Corey Heim just yet. He has been so strong in his couple of appearances, and no doubt about it that if he was just a competitor in Monday Night Racing early enough in the season, there's no doubt about it, he would be right up there, I think, and perhaps even a part of this championship 4. He'd be on the stage over here at the Charlotte Esports Hub. But down to the bottom of the racetrack, side by side, they'll go for the race lead, and Anthony Alfredo says, Bradley, you can have it. So Brad Perez goes to the top of the board here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Lap number 16, car number 60, that Shenandoah Shine machine goes to the top of the board.
You know, I think there, Blake, that scenario was willingly put by Anthony Alfredo. He said, all right, you're trying to push on this short run. You're not running for the championship. I don't have to worry about you, frankly. The next championship driver is over in P5, and he's in a 3-wide battle, by the way, with himself, Colin Fern, and DJ Cummings heading into turn 3. We'll see how that all shakes out. But Anthony Alfredo just said, okay, I will give you the spot. I will save my tires. And by the time we get to a long green flag run, I'm going to get right back up to the front, and I'm going to command the tone of the field as we'll look back at this battle around the top 6. Presley Sora underneath DJ Cummings, the 2 Ford F-150 scrapping at it in at turn 1, and Colin Fern using the very high side of this Homestead Progressive Banking. He's officially going to clear out of turn 2 for 5th.
Well, and no doubt about it, Colin Fern going up there looking for a little bit of clean air, but he's one of the few that we've seen consistently wanting to go up to the high side this early on. Now, the track is relatively cool for how hot it is. 85 degrees ambient temperature in Fahrenheit in the sim. The track temperature was just above 90 degrees when we got started. Now, in sim, that will continue to rise with the fact that it's in the morning in the sim. The sun will continue to go up, and as the track rubbers in, we run on it, it'll just continue to heat up, as now we see Gabe Wood go up there as well. But directly in front of Colin Fern, you can see the run that he gets off the corner is why he wants to go up there. And you see just up the road, Adam Cabot, championship winner from last year, is going to the bottom, and it looks like he's going to get 2 spots in one move up to second, maybe, but Corey Heim's still trying to hang on.
Well, this is the stigma here with Corey Heim. We saw him do it at Atlanta Motor Speedway just 1 week ago, where he's got somebody on his inside. He pressures them to run the very bottom while he pinches them in the middle, and he's able to get the run out of the corner. That's what he's doing in the 17, that black and red Atlas hair care products, and that Chevy Silverado. They're going to still even out at a turn 2, but this is going to bring the 2 championship competitors closer together. 1, 2, 3, 4th, 5th, 6th on the racetrack. Here comes Fern to the very high side. He's going to look for some clean air on the 23 of Anthony Alfredo. For the 2 non-playoff drivers going at it here, Blake, out of turn 4 for position into the top 3. And by the way, Adam Cabot, if he had made the championship 4 this season in season 5, he would have been the only driver of the championship 4 to have been in the championship 4 in season 3, the last time we raced this combo trucks at Homestead.
That experience would have helped. And remember, it was a week ago at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. In the last corner, Colin Fern in 2 laps drove from 11th to 1st in a must-win scenario. That's the reason that, as you look on your screen, he has that green spoiler on the back of that race truck, as he'll go side by side with Anthony Alfredo, early race leader. But for now, Alfredo getting swallowed up by some trucks that have some green on them. Colin Fern going to take control of the championship lead. He'll go 4th overall, and now they're side by side. You can see Presley Sora right there on stage here at the Charlotte Esports Hub, and full focus on driver 98 right now.
He's on the far left of the stage. You can see on the left side James Bickford, who has been picking spot after spot. He is now up to 9th. He's just getting around the 5 of Bailey Turner. He's got 2 trucks in front of him before he can get to this main championship battle. That is DJ Cummings and Gabe Wood. They're going side by side for position number 7 right now at a turn 4. But if you're James Bickford, this is what you want to see. You want to see these guys go at it. You want to see these guys go side by side and lose time. You don't want to see them single file out and run their own race. As you watch this even deeper throughout the midfield, look at Moonhead, Travis Brown in the very middle, Nick Olson on the top, and a Ford F-150 on the very bottom.
See Travis Brown in the middle right there. Carolina Pro late model driver at Hickory Motor Speedway. We'll go to the inside of Nick Olson right there. There's a lot of battling back in the pack, and this is one of those things, Kenneth, that, you know, everybody that's here, and even if they're not here, they're at their house, they're racing for fun, and they're racing for pride. They're not just going to let these Championship 4 run out there amongst themselves. They want to race. They want to fight for every position that they're worth. So you could see how hard, especially in the midfield, this series has been. And this has been something we've talked about throughout all of Season 5, is how hard the racing has been in the mid to even the back part of the field.
Yeah, this competition has been very fierce. You watch a battle here. That is George Balfans Jr. in the 94. I mentioned him has a Ford F-150. He is in a Ford F-150 tonight, but I could not quite see the number. It is indeed George Balfans Jr. He's in a battle with Jeff Green, but Jeff Green is going to get an even better run out of turn 4. He will look to the inside of Travis Brown, that black and camo orange number 37 into turn 1. And the 38 looks like he's going to have the move, and Jeff Green already picking up spots after starting fairly deep in this field, Blake. He's now up to P13.
Done a solid job of making his way forward, as you get a great shot right there in the background. Obviously, Alfredo on the left-hand side of your screen, Colin Fern on the right, and then all that's behind him. You can see all the screens, and even if you catch up, look, there's me right there, all the way in the background here, so you can see how many people have made their way out to the Charlotte Esports Hub tonight, and how close and contentious it can be with Anthony Alfredo. You can see that driver on the left-hand side of your screen. He's on the outside of Presley Sora, able to take that spot for now in what has continued to be a very tight battle in the top 5 for this championship.
And what's also, Blake, continuing to be a fall through the field for Anthony Alfredo after basically leading this race. I imagine that he was just going to let Brad Perez by and say, all right, I'll hold at least for second. I'll defend for Corey Heim, Adam Cabot, all those guys on back, but it seems like the fall has only continued. Now could this be the turnaround to the inside of Colin Fern? Potentially, Blake, this may be just the chance to save some tires. Remember, we talk about the right front. That gets at mercy here at Homestead, especially in the long run. And as the track cools, it's really going to help someone in the grip, but those tires are still going to wear out. This setup really destroys the right front if you let it, and so Anthony Alfredo, it looks like he's just trying to save that right front as much as possible. He'll get pounced for the moment, but he gets back around Colin Fern for the championship lead out of turn 4.
And Fern's going to go low. Now he's going to go high, nearly gets into the outside retaining wall into turn number 1 as Colin Fern not going to let Anthony Alfredo have it so easily. This is the battle for the lead in the title race. It looks like off of turn number 2, it is going to be no contest. Anthony Alfredo able to make his way forward, but just behind them, we're starting to see some new drivers come up into the top 10, Kenneth, and that was one of the things that I was really interested in when we had that caution around lap 10. Do you come down and take tires? Because here at Homestead, there is significant tire fall off. Shieldhouse, he was a part of that incident. He obviously took his fast repair, but he's on some tires too. He spent 7.4 seconds on pit lane. I think those fresh Goodyear Eagles might be helping out that TobyChristie.com machine.
Yeah, they're definitely helping, but the one thing to note here, Blake, he was involved in that main caution to start us off at around lap 10. He's used his fast repair, so he's got to be extra careful here running through the field, and especially around the championship competition, because it is only getting tighter. This is for second in the championship. Presley Sora testing his patience. Colin Fern wasting all of his patience here on the very high side of the racetrack. The I Love Jerky Ford F-150 will lurk to the inside. He'll bring David Shieldhouse with him. And Blake, I can imagine for Colin Fern, this is not in a situation you want to be in. Tugged around for second in the championship, already losing that battle against Anthony Alfredo for the top 5, and now having to deal with a fresh tire truck in David Shieldhouse, puncturing his way through.
Well, and Fern going to be able to get to the outside, just squeezes there outside of Presley Sora, so slot Sora back into 3rd in that championship battle, 7th right now on the racetrack. So a lot going on here as David Shieldhouse has cracked the top 5, and they are pretty contentious up at the front. You have Brad Perez, who has led since we dropped the green flag on this latest restart. Corey Heim has caught up to driver number 60. You see Adam Cabot a part of it as well, so a lot of mixing here of non-championship and championship contenders, but nevertheless, this is why this racetrack is perfect for a championship setting. So many grooves, so many places to go, and Eric Estep, I'm sure that you agree as well. Homestead-Miami Speedway, a fantastic racetrack to host this championship event.
Yeah, I've always called it the best mile and a half on the NASCAR schedule. Multiple grooves. The best drivers typically bubble to the front here at Homestead. And the chat's been pretty engaged. They loved seeing Brad Perez take that lead from Anthony Alfredo, who dropped a few spots but has now worked his way back up to that podium position. David Shieldhouse flying through the field on fresh tires. It's good racing up front and also good racing there, about 4th through 8th for that championship lead, Blake.
Drivers that are competing tonight. You see Corey Heim go to the top side. Alfredo, who spent a couple of laps saving his tires, has been on the charge here these last couple of laps as you see him go side by side. A little bit of side draft between these two NASCAR competitors. Shieldhouse not content to just ride in line. You'll see 3 different grooves that these drivers are all using, and even Brad Perez right there kind of running on that top seam, a line that we don't often see. Usually if you're going to run there, it's by the wall, but it's obviously worked for driver 60, but perhaps not that time. Corey Heim looking to the high side for the race lead. Anthony Alfredo is there as well.
They are starting to accordion here in these last couple laps, especially with the 20 and the 23, and despite Shieldhouse having roughly 11 laps fresher on his set of Goodyear Eagles, that 23 is still pulling. He's going to go right behind Brad Perez and almost give him a shove into turn 1. They'll most likely go side by side. Here comes Corey Heim to the very top of the racetrack looking for one. deep out of turn 2, but they are side by side for the race lead, and this will obviously be a championship turnaround. Anthony Alfredo noses ahead going into turn 3. Help from the 20 of Shieldhouse. Alfredo back to the front.
And I think that's where that clean air that he had early really helped him save his tires a little bit, drive through and go right to the front of the field. But the battle is not over yet. They are side by side still for that second spot between Shieldhouse and Brad Perez. Heim and Cabot looking onward, looking for an opportunity to strike, and this is allowed despite how they're battling up here. Sorah and Fern still kind of drifting back a little bit, not exactly running down your race leaders.
Yeah, they're definitely not, but this is helping Anthony Alfredo in many ways. One of them is that he's putting a buffer between himself and everybody else, because the non-playoff drivers, we talk about how big of a spoiler they can be, especially in recent memory. You think about Shane Van Gisbergen's win at the Auto Club Speedway with the Indy cars. You think about the win by Corey Heim over at the Texas Motor Speedway, the Legacy Texas Motor Speedway with the Xfinity car. The spoilers can arise out of nowhere, and since they are kind of occupying second on back, Anthony Alfredo has the opportunity to spread that buffer between himself and the next championship driver next in line, P6, in Presley Sora, who's also put a buffer between himself and Colin Fern. DJ Cummings now occupying that 7th place position. So it's only helping Anthony Alfredo here, Blake. He's able to run his pace, set his rhythm, be in that muscle memory in his rig on the stage here at the Carolina Esports Hub, while also making sure that the trek to Anthony Alfredo from everybody else is as tough as possible.
Certainly so. And Jacob, as we continue to go along, this kind of has the feel of what we had here a season ago in this championship race, a long green flag run. If that's the case, how much longer do you think it is before some of these drivers start to think about coming down pit road?
For some drivers, it's not going to be all that long, Blake. In fact, Ryan Vargas, he just made the call. He just pitted a lap ago. He took 4 tires in fuel. He's been slipping back through this field under this green flag run, and now he's back up on the racetrack. He was just slipping and slipping and slipping. He almost got the top 10 and then just plummeted almost back toward the 20th position or so, where he's at right now, 35th. That's his first set of tires that he used. Colin Fern, one of your championship contenders, he is on pit road right now, coming down to his pit box. He was starting to slide back through the field, maybe abused his tires a little too much. He has the second pit stall at the end of pit road. The right side goes up. They'll replace the tires on the right side of that number 86 Chevy Silverado. The left sides will go up on that race truck right now, and he'll be set to go and get down and away. Travis Brown makes the call. He's going to come to pit road this time by coming off turn number 4. Fern is down and away, and this is going to open the window for the first round of green flag pit stops. The guys pitting here, they are all taking 4 and fuel, or will be taking 4 and fuel. This will give them 3 sets left for the rest of the night.
As they were going to be heading down to pit lane, but it seems like over the next couple of laps, pit road is going to be a very busy place. You see Corey Heim, he was battling up there in the top 5. He's going to make his way down in pit road in that number 51 Toyota Tundra. Up front, though, Alfredo still electing to stay out, so 3 championship contenders still out on the racetrack in Alfredo, Sorah, and Bickford. And Colin Fern, we saw it last week a little bit with Atlanta, a little bit of a divergent strategy from the rest of his competitors, and this will net him the lead at least for a certain amount of time. He's going to make up a lot of time on those fresh tires. Ryan Vargas, who you just mentioned, came off of pit road. Colin Fern, all of those drivers who are running right now are several tenths, even perhaps about 2 seconds faster right now on those first couple of laps than what they're running right now. So you're going to make up a lot of track position very quickly.
You're going to make up a lot of time, especially at a track here at Homestead that usually rips up the tires quite significantly, but the problem is with the undercut, you have everybody going in later, then they're going to have the fresh rubber, and then it's all defense from there. Colin Fern, the first out of the 4 to come down pit road. We've got a couple of more in there as well. Brad Perez, your former race leader. JD Motor Esports' Gabe Wood in his white and pink number 50 Chevy Silverado. He's going to be coming in for 4 fresh tires and some fuel to go to the next stint. And here comes some of your leaders, including another championship competitor. This time, Charlotte Phoenix's James Bickford will follow the 17 of Cabot down.
Again, a lot of pressure here. If you speed right here, this could be the end of your championship hopes. You can see how much focus is right there. Even hear a couple applause right here as James Bickford able to successfully go down and make his stops. You see an adjustment there on the keyboard. Perhaps not really sure there. Maybe brake bias, fuel, making sure that he had those tires checked and everything. But it has been, it's very pressure-packed. Is now your race leader, Anthony Alfredo, down to pit road. Presley Sora going to follow him as well.
And you know, I think here, Blake, at least I start to wonder whether that call by Colin Fern kind of pressured the other Championship 4 drivers to say, all right, well, he's going to have fresh tires. We don't really want to get eaten up on our set, so we're just going to come in and we're just going to settle our gear, check those boxes, and cross those T's, dot those I's, and then we can have the fresh rubber to beat Colin Fern. It looks like Fern right now has struggled a little bit to get back. He is looking for the lead lap here as it appears as DJ Cummings. Indeed, he is. The 10 machine, he's now going to slow down. He's going to hop on the brakes and head to pit road. But also one thing here as well, Blake, this is a very interesting entrance into the pit lane at Homestead-Miami Speedway. It is categorized by many as one of the hardest on the intermediate calendar when it comes to tracks like Kansas, Chicagoland, Las Vegas, you name it, even Atlanta Motor Speedway, the one that we were at just 1 week ago. Homestead is a very treacherous place because that progressive banking and kind of juts down onto the apron and it really goes away, and then you have that entrance off of the grass. You want to make sure you don't end up hitting the grass on that access road. That's going to be a problem if you get down there. If you lock up the brakes, you speed on pit road. That was a problem for many just 1 week ago with the next gen, so it could be a problem this time around at Homestead. Hasn't been for a majority of the field, but we'll just have to see.
Certainly so, as you could see many of those drivers, you saw them pit during that first round of stops, and they are still largely out on the racetrack. You see David Schoedhaus, Jeff Green right now running in the second position, George Belfans Jr. in third, and then even Nick Olson, who's here in the hub. But you could see just visually on your screen how quickly that 37 of Travis Brown, the big difference the tires make right now, that you just feel like you are absolutely flying if you were on some 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles right now. But we have about half the field that has split this, and how this could play into the championship. As you can see right there, Jeff Green going to make his way down onto pit lane. A lot going on here, but they can go about 10 laps past this distance.
That's definitely true. We still got a good amount of drivers here, Blake, that are electing to stay out. A lot of them non-playoff drivers. All the Championship 4 have already come in, so Schoedhaus still leading this group. But one thing I want to know is this difference right here around the top 15, top 10 or so. Anthony Alfredo, remember his call later to pit against the 86 of Colin Fern, who was the first out of the Championship 4 to make his way for service for the very first time. They are now locked side by side together inside the top 10, and this will be a change of hands for the championship lead.
A lot going on track, and a lot going on even here in Charlotte, Darren.
Thanks very much, Blake. I'm here on the floor of the Carolina Esports Center with Steve Sora. That's Presley Sora's dad. And in the pre-race interview, Presley thanks Steve for making so much of that drive down from Indiana. Steve, you got to be proud of your boy tonight.
Oh yeah, he's doing real good.
He's fighting mid-pack right now, but he's battling his way up. What do you got to say to parents out there? I mean, you're down here 9 hours away from home supporting your kid as he's racing for this championship. Any advice out there to just really the racers in America these days?
Yeah, support your kids. I mean, that's the bottom line. Help them out any way you can.
Awesome. Hey, and Steve, great shirt, Presley Sora shirt. I mean, you're repping everybody. Where'd you get those from? Anybody to thank to helping to get Presley here tonight?
Yeah, of course, his mom, me, his younger brother, who is also a good sim racer. This is 213 Simware who makes these. They're available in all different colors. I think white, black, blue. So get your Presley Sora shirt whenever you can.
Awesome. Hey, Steve, thanks very much. Good luck on that drive, and back to Indiana coming up. We hope to see a lot more down here in Charlotte for maybe some more championship events in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having this down here. It's a really nice event, and we're having a really good time.
Awesome. Steve Sora, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get back to the booth and find out where Presley's running right now.
Well, you can see right there running on your screen as Presley Sora and the like have made their round of green flag pit stops. Right now it is 17th at this time in the midst of this cycle that Presley Sora currently runs. As several more drivers, that'll change as they come down to pit lane. But I think that goes to show, Kenneth, that we have so many different types of drivers. You have NASCAR Xfinity Series stars that are here competing for this championship racing in person. You have NASCAR Camping World Truck Series drivers, and you also have some drivers that are able to come here. They're young. They have their parents here with them. I mean, I think that's just great. That shows how well-rounded this sim racing is.
That's definitely true, and also the story for guys like Presley Sora and even Adam Cabot. Last season's champion, we walked through his story, winning the ERL championship, which was a league owned by Anthony Alfredo, winning that, locking himself and qualifying into this Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries, and then basically going to the championship 4 in his rookie season, and then doing it all over again in season number 4 and winning the championship here at the Carolina Esports Hub when we did this event for the very first time. So with stories like these, even with the real life drivers, you get to have those sim racers, those hardcore drivers that have been on the sim for a while, and young drivers like Presley Sora, who's only getting better by the lap. We saw how good he was in the Road to Glory series last season, where he won the championship at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway, and this season where he's already picked up 2 wins on the calendar in the second race of the season. That was his first, by the way, Blake. MX-5s in Martinsville. It didn't take him long at all to get accustomed to the M&R Pro Series calendar and the competition of drivers, and then doing it all over again with the Radicals of Texas. This driver here from Cambridge City, Indiana, out of Crypto Autosport, has been one of the most impressive to watch, and it's awesome to see that his parents are there watching there with him.
It is great to see, as right now he trails, at least at the stripe that last time, your current net championship leader in Anthony Alfredo here by just a couple of seconds. And it hasn't been long working for Anthony Alfredo, despite this cycle, to get back in the lead of the championship. You can see at least right there a moment ago, and actually you can see it on the right-hand side of your screen. There's Brad Perez directly up the road from Anthony Alfredo, who, by the way, you talk about a great sponsor. SimSeats brought what is essentially his rig here to the stage. I mean, that's great sponsorship. And again, when we talk about comfort in this new environment, that's got to be an advantage for Anthony Alfredo. I know a couple of drivers we talked to last year that had a real difficult time kind of running a different rig, and that's got to be good for Anthony Alfredo. Jacob, I believe you have a little bit more as far as that is concerned.
Everybody in the championship 4 agreed that they were all going to run the same rig, the same setup for all 4 of them. And for all 4 of them, it was pretty much a unique challenge. This time around, you've got 2 drivers in Alfredo and Bickford that are running on pretty much their own rigs, their own setups. For Presley Sora and Colin Fern, they are running on next level setups, not what they are used to driving. So they have had to acclimate themselves to these different rigs so far here tonight. They've been putting in a lot of practice, and I think that's been showing so far in this race. You've got Anthony Alfredo running second, James Bickford is running in 5th, Sorah and Fern running behind those 2. I'm not saying it's the only impact, but it definitely it has something to do with the fact that some guys are comfortable in their own skin right now in their rigs. The other 2 drivers, not so much.
Thank you very much, Jacob. And again, it is much like, I'm sure for many of these real-life drivers, when you go into a different vehicle or something, it's just something that you have to adjust to. As you can see, a side-by-side battle right there on your screen with a driver who you get a good look at right there. Wonderful North Wilkesboro hat adorning for Colin Fern in the number 86 truck. Unfortunately, pitted early, so it is falling back at least from your race leaders on his current tire strategy. Runs 7th right now. Anthony Alfredo, meanwhile, is pulling right up to the back of Corey Heim to not only take the lead of this championship fight and continue to build on it, but is going to try to take the lead of the race as well.
And this is somewhat of a redemption story for Anthony Alfredo as well. You think back to the last time he made an appearance into the Championship 4 in Monday Night Racing Pro Series history. That was in Season 2, his very first campaign. So he's one of 3 drivers over the entire history of M&R to get to the Championship 4 in their rookie campaign, joining the likes of Adam Cabot and, of course, our newly crowned Presley Sora into the Championship 4. But Alfredo had some problems at Atlanta. He finished 31st in that race. He was in the Championship 4. He was one of the favorites to go for the championship, and then had those internet problems, took him out of the race, and unfortunately he was really not able to see the full potential of not only himself as a driver, but the race truck he had in sim at the Virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. So this is somewhat of a redemption tour for Alfredo. Bring a fast truck, be as fast as you can be, put up a perfect race, and erase all those bad memories from Atlanta Motor Speedway and get a new christened, brand new, great memory with a Bob Jenkins trophy here from Homestead.
That's at least what is on his mind, and sure the game plan coming in, and right now it is going to perfection for the driver of the number 23 Sim Seats Chevrolet, who just got past right there. You see Mark Rabillas unlapping himself from the 31st position. He's able to unlap himself right there and continue to make up some ground. We see Adam Cabot has still become a part of that fight. It looks like almost an issue there for Brad Perez, who either almost hit the wall or got a little bit loose there off of turn number 4 directly behind Cabot. That'll slot him back into the 4th position as a result of that. And Perez running, again, we've seen him run that line a number of times. One of the most unique that we've seen here, that he's really the only one, he's kind of planting those left sides right on that seam, trying to get a little bit of rotation in that truck. As I say that on this end of the racetrack, you see him do it on the opposite end, but now on the bottom. So he'll kind of straddle that seam right there, try to get the truck to rotate a little bit. As you see James Bickford looking on and try to make that a side-by-side battle. And I believe Bickford actually, yes, he does have a truck right next to him. That is the number 11, one lap down, Steve Affont.
Steve Affont looking for the outside move, so it looks like Bickford's just waiting for the time to strike, and this may be it out of turn 2. It slowed up Brad Perez, took away his line. Steve Affont did, being the faster truck, and out of the inside he will go. James Bickford on the bottom, turn 3. Looks like he would not have the exact momentum to clear the 60 correctly out of turn 4, but they will remain side by side. And Brad Perez said that's a very vital line as well, using that seam, and I think that's something that we're going to see over the course of the night, especially once this race steps into long green flag runs like we had in that opening run after the first yellow, where that right front really starts to scream for grip. You start to chase it up the racetrack, so by having those left sides on the seam, you're able to rotate that truck, get a little more turn in it, and indeed give you some more confidence to put some throttle on that truck and send it up. Because here at Homestead, it's not necessarily a sharp transition to either straightaway, whether it's front or back. You have somewhat of a long stretch of corner before you officially get to that front or back straightaway on that type of banking, out of the progressive banking in every single corner. So you also have to keep that in mind, and these drivers want to make sure they have as much throttle as they can be with this downforce, and with that line that Perez is taking, it's helping him. But the fact that he's got 22-lap old tires and there's drivers around them that have pitted a lap or two better than him, it is not necessarily working out too much for that blue Shenandoah Shine Chevy Silverado.
Not so much, at least at the moment, and he's about 2.5 seconds behind Anthony Alfredo. Here comes Presley Sora. We were getting an update on him just a little while ago, currently running 3rd in the championship standings. He will make his way out onto the racetrack, and a bit of a development here, Kenneth, seeing that Corey Heim has pit. He was running up there in the top 5, and he has already come down into pit road. Jacob, I don't know if you perhaps heard anything there from driver 51, but looking like a little bit of a strategy call here for Corey Heim.
I heard him come over the radio, didn't quite catch what he said. Gabe Wood is now also on pit road. Ryan Vargas is there. Ford Martin, nope, that's Will Rogers. He's on pit road. So I believe this is the opening of this second window. Remember, Vargas was the first one to come onto pit road. He came on at the start of lap 35. We're now on lap 63, so that's not quite 30 laps. I thought they could go a little bit more than 30 laps, but we are now at the halfway point in this race. So for these guys, you're looking at maybe one more stop from this point to make it to the end. So for most of these guys, you're going to have one set of tires remaining. And for guys that are off cycle, like a Jeff Green, who took his first set of tires back on lap 7, for a David Schildhaus, for a Ford Martin, it'll be interesting for those guys, because I believe they're going to wind up using all 4 sets before we get to the checkered flag, all 4 sets that they have on the pit lane. Everybody else, I think, is going to have that one extra set left. We'll see how long it takes these guys to pull the trigger, because right now you've got guys like Colin Fern out there. He's on 28-lap old tires. He might be one of the next drivers onto pit road. Then you look at DJ Cummings. He pitted just 22 laps ago toward the end of that window. So some varying strategies right now on the racetrack. Corey Heim obviously thinks the tires are more important, and he's going to take them now. For others, we'll have to see how long they can go before they decide they need to pull the trigger and come down to pit road.
Thank you, Jacob. And I know that's a little bit of difference here. That we're used to going a little bit longer, but again, one of the nice things about iRacing is you can customize the size of fuel, or not the size of the fuel tank, but how much you can put in. We covered it in our race analysis and pre-race. That's 75% of an 18.7 gallon tank that these trucks typically use. That is all they're allowed to fill up here. So a little bit of a shorter fuel window, at least in the tire run that is being run tonight. So you're seeing anywhere usually in about the mid-30s, I believe, is kind of where or how long these drivers can go. You also have to think that we had that caution around lap number 10, pushed it forward a little bit, and so you're trying to think of how to split about 115 laps or so evenly 3 ways, as you can still see 3 of your championship contenders in the top 4 running right now. I think Jacob brought up a great point as well, Kenneth, about tire sets and how many you have left, because if we get to the end of this thing and we get a couple of cautions, tires matter a lot here. We've seen roughly about 2 seconds of fall off over the course of a run. So if you're able to catch a caution at the right time and have a set of tires in the back pocket when we get to the last 20 or 30 laps, I mean, we saw what Colin Fern did. He drove from 11th to 1st in 2 laps at Atlanta, a track that chews up tires. So saving a set of tires could be on the minds, I'm sure, of some of these drivers.
You know, one of the priorities, Blake, that I had even before getting to Charlotte for this Carolina Esports Hub race in the championship was don't forget about tire sets. We neglected it almost the entire race at Atlanta, and look what it did. It changed the hands quite drastically for the championship. We had it in our minds that Adam Cabot was probably going to get into the championship. He was probably going to win that race based on the rate that he was catching Fern in the last 2 or so laps. And that caution comes out, then that set is used by Fern, and then he does a miraculous charge to the front, storms to the field, and then he ends up as the winner, and that's why he's part of this Championship 4 here tonight from the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. You took a look on board with the TobyChristie.com Chevy Silverado. This is a move around championship driver Presley Sora on the 98, so a almost pivotal pass here. Schildhaus has 18 laps on his stint versus Sorah's 27, so of course it is a rather easy move for this number 20 machine. He's going to get around, and then he will clear for 4th, but again, you cannot forget about tire sets. Like you said, late race restart, you get into a situation where one of those guys has the upper hand, has the fresh rubber, and at a track like this that still also eats up tires, much like Atlanta, you're going to need it.
Well, and I have to think, Kenneth, how much it kind of eats into these drivers' psyche at this moment that they're not up here battling for a championship. Look at Adam Cabot, won your championship last season. You have David Schildhaus, who basically got knocked out on the last lap or so a week ago at Atlanta. I wonder how much, it's got to hurt, because they have that experience of being on the stage here about 6 months ago, and they're not on there right now. I'm sure it hurts for, somebody like Schildhaus to be across the room. I mean, he's next to the bartender right here. He's not on the stage, I'm sure, where he would like to be.
Yeah, it's definitely true. And you also get that what-if mindset. Adam Cabot, he was so strong in that championship race in Season 3 and then got wrecked out of the back straightaway. I remember watching that crash happen and how interesting the tide changed, or how much the tide changed really in that championship fight, because Adam Cabot was looking like one of the strongest alongside guys like Raja Caruth. I know Anthony Alfredo was not in the championship, but he was a very fast truck and one of the non-playoff drivers. They're the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. So Adam Cabot running as well as he is right now in the same reign, like you say, with David Schildhaus, is just that if I made it to that stage and I'm performing this well, what's the story like? Do I win the championship? How do I perform in comparison to all these other championship drivers? And obviously that's something that they kind of have to swallow with that pill, as here comes Schildhaus to the outside. This is a move for 2nd on Adam Cabot, and of course with the fresher rubber on behalf of Schildhaus, 9 laps to the good on Alfredo. In comparison, it looks like this is going to be a solid charge to the front for that 20.
Certainly so. And Eric, I know I'd love to kind of get your opinion, your thoughts on everything that's going on in the chat. I know Anthony Alfredo was your pick to win this championship, and many in your chat agreed. How are they liking it right now that he's up front?
I think they have to be feeling pretty good. I asked the chat, when we're waiting on the leaders to make their next pit stop, would you short pit? Would you choose to wait a little bit longer? Like that last cycle of stops, at the beginning of this green flag run, Colin Fern was the first of the championship 4 to pit by just a handful of laps, and we saw it pay off early in the run, but as we've gone later, you see now he's 9th on the racetrack, several seconds behind the next highest playoff driver. It looks like Fern's actually pitting now, so once again, he will be one of the first playoff drivers in. Is this the right call, short pitting, or is waiting a little bit longer the right way to do things here?
See if it'll work out for Colin Fern. As you mentioned, Eric, he is the first driver on pit road, and my goodness, I love the paint scheme on that 86 truck as he is down getting service and 4 tires right now. sporting the Racetrack Revival North Wilkesboro Speedway colors. I'll be there in 2 days for that Cars Tour race. I'm so looking forward to that. I wish I could be there tomorrow, but we got some eNASCAR business to take care of. Wanted to see limited late models and practice qualifying for late model stocks here, but man, I can't wait to get out there. That's a beautiful looking, kind of throwback looking truck that Colin Fern has got, and honestly not too much different than Anthony Alfredo up front. Kind of some red, white, and blue going on here with these championship competitors.
You're kind of flexing on me a little bit, Blake. Just a little. But really, I mean, I'm jealous. I'm not able to experience a track like North Wilkesboro. I'm out in South Florida, but you watch how good Colin Fern has been over the season, and this is, I think, the first time that we see a North Wilkesboro-inspired paint scheme out of this 86, and he's got the hat on here on stage too. If we look at his camera, you look at James Bickford, one of the other championship drivers, on camera as well. He's trying to chase down the other red, white, and blue truck, your championship leader at the moment, Anthony Alfredo. But one thing I am noticing here, Blake, you look off into the distance in the horizon here at Homestead, Florida, and that sun is starting to set. Those lights are going to come on very quickly. The grip is starting to come up, and as this pit strategy gets even more intense with the fact that these drivers are going to have to come down sooner than later here on lap 76, 80, maybe 85, that's also going to change the game as well. This track is going to change very drastically over the next handful of stints.
Season started with the sunrise race at Daytona, and it ends with the sunset here at Homestead-Miami Speedways. It's creating some beautiful scenes or a backdrop for these championship competitors. See Robbie Lyons making his way on the pit road. Travis Brown will also, as Alfredo has lost the race lead. David Schildhouse has gone by, and David Schildhouse will resume the race lead with 48 laps to go. And I was looking at the chat here myself, and they're quite as surprised as we are. This is really just clicking along here. Only been slowed by one yellow flag so far. So these championship races tend to be pretty clean here in Monday Night Racing.
That's definitely true. Last season had the same thing. There wasn't a yellow. Obviously, this one had a very early yellow with Schildhouse on the back straightaway. But apart from that, I mean, the clean nature of racing with these drivers in person, it's definitely interesting to see how clean these races have gotten. But it's also been a trend, even when these guys have been remote, right? It hasn't necessarily been a surprise tonight from Homestead that there has been a lot of clean races. Look back to Legacy Texas Motor Speedway, the Xfinity cars. That race basically went all the way green. You think about the trucks at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Apart from maybe some cautions in the early stages, that race went green all the way to the end. Atlanta, even though we had some woes in the first half of the race, that second half brought us a long green flag run with strategy as James Bickford locks the brakes up going on a pit road. It looks like there may be no issues on behalf of the 29.
I was thinking that he may have just overshot it, but rather it was a perfect or near perfect entry right there for James Bickford as he becomes the second championship competitor in the midst of these green flag pit stops to come down and get service for his car. Looks like a relatively clean stop right there. 46 laps to go. You'd think that he can definitely make it to the end on fuel with that pit strategy. You can see right there the TobyChristie.com Chevrolet of David Schildhouse in first. Anthony Alfredo about a second and a half back down the road in second. I want to give a nod to DJ Cummings, though, running really strong right now in the fourth spot. Hasn't been the season I'm sure he would have hoped for. Was a part of at least the championship battle, made the playoffs this season, but unfortunately wasn't able to make it here to the championship four, but doing a solid job right now, running up there in the top five. You can see Bailey Turner has just cracked the top five with Adam Cabot making his entry down pit road. A couple other names in the top 10. I saw Jeff Green running there just a moment ago. He just came down pit road for service to his truck as well. And even Garrett Smithley right there. Top three at Atlanta and finished, or at least runs in sixth position right now.
It's an opportunistic scenario for a lot of these guys as Bickford almost about hit the 10 of DJ Cummings, almost spun him around. Bickford on the fresher tires here, so he is basically moving his way through the field quite swimmingly. This is a change to bring him back to the lead lap, most likely, once he can get around your race leader in David Schildhouse, but he will get around the 23, and it won't be too long before he gets to that number 20 of David Schildhouse, roughly 2.5 seconds between that 23 and the 20. Some other drivers coming out of pit road. Adam Cabot, we saw him make that stop. He's out. He's merged back out of turn 2 on the back straightaway. Same deal for the 07 out of Crypto Autosport. Ford Martin in his black and blue Chevy Silverado. So those guys going to have some fresh rubber. Presley Sora now, Blake, making his entrance onto the pit stalls. You watch James Bickford continue to weave his way around lap traffic. Not necessarily the easiest task here at Homestead.
Well, Bickford has a big moment. You can see DJ Cummings right there hitting the pit road commitment cone. We were just talking about him having a good run. That may not come to fruition as well. James Bickford, just a little bit ago, had a big moment right there. He almost ran in the back of someone, but he knew he could not afford a caution. That would be costly for his championship hopes. Jacob, what are you hearing down on pit road here? And there may be a couple of penalties handed out.
Yeah, one and only one. Garrett Smithley, the rare speeding on exit of pit road. He was already in his box. He was roaring away. He got a little too aggressive as there goes Alfredo. He's down and away. Garrett Smithley getting a black flag for speeding, exiting pit road. DJ Cummings locked it up right behind Anthony Alfredo coming onto pit road. He knocked the inside cone down. He did not get a penalty, so he is all fine and dandy in that 10 machine. Now, I know you talked about fuel. We're looking at about 43 to 45 laps on fuel. Is there 3 wide? Adam Cabot on fresh tires flying through the field off turn 4. Right now, with where we're at, Alfredo and Sorah, they should be good, maybe want to save a little bit just in case. Same deal with Bickford. He's probably going to have to save. Colin Fern, pitted on lap 74. He's going to need to save a lot of fuel on this green flag run if we stay green the rest of the way. We're coming to 40 to go this time by. Everybody that has yet to pit, they will be able to make it to the end. The guys that pitted before lap 80, they're going to have to save a lot. The guys that pitted after lap 80, it's going to be close. As long as we stay green the rest of the way, I think they should be able to make it to the end on fuel. We'll have to keep an eye on it, guys.
We'll have to keep an eye on that, certainly. Thank you very much, Jacob. And one truck I was keeping my eye on right there is Colin Fern and James Bickford, who are side by side off of turn number 2, or turn 4 rather. You saw a big moment right there. That was Shane Van Gisbergen, who nearly got turned right there. An incredible job of saving that truck. Will keep him pointed in the right direction. But 2 of your championship competitors close, but not much of a battle between Colin Fern and James Bickford. Bickford, of course, on the fresher tires, able to get on by. And I think, as Jacob was alluding to, Kenneth, it's looking like a caution is necessary for Colin Fern to get back into this fight.
It's definitely true. You watched the 99 of Mark Verbillis out of turn 4. Looks like he might have had a tag to the outside safer barrier, but no problem, no harm, no foul. We will stay green. Colin Fern weaves his way by without any issues. But yeah, cautions probably going to be detrimental if they don't come out for certain drivers, and obviously saving fuel is going to be very big. For guys like Anthony Alfredo, there definitely isn't a concern, knowing that they pitted within 40 laps to go. They can go at least 45 or 50 laps on a stint. We saw Seth Eggert go around 52 laps in a stint before he finally decided it was his time to come in. And speaking of coming into pit road, it would be the colorful Ford F-150. Justin Malillo out of Traction.gg. He is to my far right on the desk side of things. Also Gary Sexton, who's right behind our broadcast station here at the Carolina Esports Hub. Both of them in their respective rigs. They're going to come for a stop onto the pit lane. This should be their final stop of the evening. And Blake, I think this is going to be very interesting as well to watch these guys who are staying out. All of these non-playoff guys testing their luck. And remember, Corey Heim, who pitted 26 laps ago all by himself, he's now into the top 4.
He's done a good job of making time up, especially on pit entry, getting in and off of pit road. And there's so much time to make up here at Homestead-Miami Speedway because of the access road around turns 1 and 2. You can make up a lot of time if you're able to drive that well. Stay out of the grass, of course, but there is time to be made up on the exit of the racetrack, and Corey Heim certainly doing a masterful job of getting in and off of pit road to be able to make up time. Aside from just the strategy and perhaps pitting a little bit earlier, has been able to stretch that gap after coming down pit road a handful of times. Just saw Nick Olson out of the corner of my eye. He made his way onto pit road, and you can see it highlighted there on your screen. It turns the lead over for the moment to George Belfance Jr., who has yet to make his way onto pit road just yet. I believe he's one of the last drivers to make their way down. I think Mark Billis, Seth Eggert, another couple of drivers who haven't quite made their way onto pit road, but it's got to come soon. The fuel tank, I'm sure, running empty, and only have 36 laps to go. It's amazing how quickly this race is going by.
Yeah, with the green flag laps, things have ticked down very, very quickly. And with the guys that are staying out, they're probably hoping for a yellow flag to turn their way. They've yet to pit, but if they get the track position with a yellow freezing the field, they're able to get fresh tires and still have the track position to their benefit and have fresher tires than the guys behind them, which makes me question a little bit, Blake, if a caution does come out, do the guys who already pitted now, do they pit again? Do they waste that extra set, or do they save it for the next 34 or so laps? We talk about how big of an impact those set of tires can mean if you take it late in a restart, and much like Atlanta proved to us, it only takes 2 or so laps, maybe even less than that if you have a clear trek through the field and you don't have anybody checking you up and being in your way, taking your line. It will take very little time for you to make that move all the way to the front. Right now it hasn't been the case, but you watch a huge block sent by James Bickford. He does not want to have this spot taken away from him into the top 3, but Cabot will force his way to the middle of the racetrack, 1 and 2, to take the spot. That's for 3rd.
And you see a good battle going on right there. Interesting decision to kind of hold him off. I mean, if you really think about it, you're not really racing Adam Cabot. I mean, you are on the racetrack, so to speak, but you definitely aren't racing him as far as what matters here tonight, what you came to do. You can see Cabot right there, I'm sure, slowing him up, though. That's the one thing he doesn't want, is for them to be side by side and allow some of those drivers on the fresher tires, like Presley Sora, like Anthony Alfredo, to continue to make up ground. So with 33 laps to go, you can see on your screen, Championship 4 competitors running in sync, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Bickford currently the leader of that group. Then you have Colin Fern, who again is on slightly fresher tires than some of his counterparts. Presley Sora and Anthony Alfredo making up some ground. You can see that gap to the leader starting to shrink for them as they try to run these drivers down. But you know, Kenneth, the last time that we had a cycle, they were able to catch up a little bit quicker. Sora and Alfredo right now, they still have a lot of ground to make up. They're making up a decent amount per lap, but you can also see all the traffic that they're coming through right now. So Bickford and Fern, if a caution were to happen, they're in a great spot right now.
That's definitely true, but there is concern with this lack of rate that they're picking up on the championship drivers in front of them, because like you said, in those previous stints, it didn't look like an issue for the 23 nor the 98, especially Anthony Alfredo, who spent a majority of this race up at the front of the field. Now he makes a potential pass here for 3rd in the championship. This will be for 6 on the racetrack, so they'll go door to door into turn 3. There's Mike Clay, the ESPN NFL reporter, on the backside of this, as well as a couple of other lap trucks, Gary Sexton being one of them. He had just pitted most recently, but with the fact that they're not necessarily catching Fern and Bickford all too much, does it change the mindset of guys like Sorah and Alfredo now that they're seeing this happen right in front of their eyes? The laps are starting to window down. You're starting to get into the final 30 as the sun starts to set here at Homestead. So do you start to push, and does that desperation start to kick in a little bit?
Well, I think it does it in the case of Colin Fern because of how far ahead of everybody that he is. Although Corey Heim right now, Corey Heim's going to come down pit road. I saw the gap shrinking for everybody, and that is exactly why Corey Heim going to make this a short run to the end, 30 laps. So Heim will come down to pit road. That gives the lead over to Adam Cabot. But I think the desperation isn't quite there because Fern is going to have to stretch it quite a bit to make it to the end on fuel. But Bickford right now, 7.5 seconds left. I mean, that's not nothing. That's a pretty decent gap that Bickford has. You can see right there, able to go right on by Brad Perez and take control of that 2nd spot. But as that gap is shrinking, the amount that Alfredo and Sorah are making up, not quite as much as it was a lap or 2 ago.
Yeah, but luckily for them, lap traffic is not an issue anymore. They don't have to pierce their way through a bunch of lap trucks that are also trying to race for their positions, because obviously they make clear way for the championship for Blake, but they're racing for their own sake, right? They're running for a good finish. They're running for some good momentum to swing them into season 6 when we kick that off later on in 2022. So they're racing for their own sake, racing for their own situation. But at the same time, you know, obviously that also stalls up some of the championship drivers, and this may stall Presley Sora just a bit. Schildhouse moving to the inside, and that is, I think, a pass to get him back on the lead lap, or it should be to get him in front. I think this is just for a lead lap's sake, so he's going to get back on the lead lap. And Fern looks like Blake McCandless, he's on a pit road this time by.
And I think this is going to be his last time down, his last set of tires available for him. Jacob, what are you hearing down there on the pit lane as Colin Fern enters his pit stall?
An interesting strategy here, and all the way to the end where they last pitted around lap 74 for Fern. What they're going to do, they're cutting this last bit in half. That's what Heim is doing. Max Kennan is on the same strategy where they are coming to pit road. They are using an extra set of tires. All of them are going to have one tire set remaining. Everybody else, if they stay out, which includes guys like Sorah, Bickford, and Alfredo, they have 2 sets right now if they decide not to pit. So for everybody, if we do somehow get a late race caution, they're going to have one more set to put on. It's just, that's it for some of these guys, like Fern, like Heim, like Max Kennan. So interesting play call here for Colin Fern. He's going to have to make up a full lap on everybody else. Brad Perez in a similar situation. He's on pit road right now. We'll see how this plays out for these guys, but Colin Fern is going to have to hope for some major tire fall off, I think, here in the remaining 26 laps in order to have a shot to get out in front of James Bickford or whoever the top Championship 4 driver is and steal this championship away on strategy.
That's how it's going to be. Again, last week, Colin Fern won his way onto this stage a week ago through strategy. You can see how much time he's making up now. He's going to be very fast on those fresher tires, but is it enough that in 25 laps, I mean, he's already a lap down. Kenneth, you're going to have to make up over a second a lap, well over a second a lap, as a matter of fact, as you look at the gap that he is a lap down. It's going to take a while for him to unlap himself. You can see the 3rd place truck of David Schildhouse right there. And you also have to think, if you're using your last set of tires, if a caution comes out, you're dead in the water at that point because you can't come down pit road at all.
And if we question the concern on the likes of Alfredo and Sorah, what they were not picking up as much pace as probably they should have been on the racetrack, that concern gets even worse when you look at guys like Colin Fern, even like Corey Heim, all these guys that have just pitted, Brad Perez in that same boat as well. That concern probably very high because they have to pick up a whole lap. They have to get through lap traffic, and then that's where they're really setting themselves up for, all right, here's where I am, here's where I need to be, especially position-wise, to get ahead of the other championship competitors. Here's Anthony Alfredo getting around one of the lap trucks, or really fighting with the lap truck, really. That is the 99 of Mark Rubilis. He will try to catch up to David Schildhouse, although that gap has significantly grown to about 2.3 or so seconds and counting. Alfredo looking to stay in his same position, and the problem resides here for those guys and for Alfredo in the fact, Blake, that James Bickford is catching up slightly on your race leader, Adam Cabot. Last time by, he did not set the fastest lap out of the top 3 or top 5, or even faster than your race leader, but he is running a very interesting line to save him some right front all the way at the very bottom. So watch that number 29. He's looking to put himself in prime position to be in that championship run at the end of it.
You know, I got to think, Kenneth, so Alfredo about 10 laps ago was about 8 seconds back of James Bickford. And I was thinking, okay, here it comes. He's going to make up a ton of ground. That gap is still at 7 seconds about 10 laps later. And you can see it shrinking a little bit. It goes down to 6. It'll kind of stretch back up to about 7 seconds or so. But Alfredo has not made up the ground nearly as quickly as I thought he would. I thought this was pretty much in the bag. I know I'm looking at Eric Eastep's chat. Who wins the championship out of a live poll? It says 68% thinks Alfredo's going to make it. Bickford tried to come down pit road, Kenneth, and I believe he missed it.
Oh, a huge mistake there for the 29 of James Bickford. He slowed himself down, and now he will lose a potential spot there to Fern. Of course, Fern is a lap down, so he's unlapping himself at this juncture, but the 29 may have cost himself a position in the championship 4, at least where the lead is concerned. Tried to go down, missed a stop, and I remember telling you, Blake, how treacherous this entrance to pit road is at Homestead-Miami Speedway. It bit the 29, and it looks like this time officially is a confirmed call for pit road.
See this time if James Bickford is able to get down on the pit lane, and he is. This is a replay of him trying to make it the previous lap. You could see trying to slow down and just a bit of a last-second decision, drifted up the track, and you know that, I mean, his look on stage, very frustrated right there, Jacob. At least from what you're saying or potentially telling us, we might see all of our championship competitors come down pit road.
2 tires for James
on pit road. He's down and away. He takes 2 right side tires on lap 106. A lap ago, Adam Cabot did the same thing on pit road. I'm expecting everybody back on pit road before this thing is said and done. The strategy so far for the contenders has been a 2-tire stop. We'll see how 2 tires compare to the guys that took 4 tires, like Colin Fern. His tire's going to be 8 laps older than James Bickford's. We'll have to watch this, as already Bickford back out on the racetrack. Colin Fern is about 2 seconds in front of him right now on the racetrack. Stephen Ellis, he was up toward the front. He's on pit road now. Adam Cabot is in front of both Bickford and Colin Fern right now on the racetrack. Cabot sits 14th. Fern is 16th. Bickford is 18th. So a lot going on here as Bickford and Fern trying a strategy of their own. It seems like you'd have to favor Bickford with that, being back 2 seconds, having slightly fresher tires, but Alfredo and Sorah, they're on their entirely separate strategy, Kenneth, and if they can make it to the end, they're going to settle it out amongst themselves, but I don't think that can happen. Can they make it to the end? And if they can, is enough of a lead that Alfredo has right now, only about 1.5 seconds on Presley Sorah. Is that enough? So out of 4 competitors, you have basically 2 different strategies, and out of those 2 strategies, out of each strategy, only one is going to come out ahead.
You've got 2 of the drivers, half of the championship for Blake in the catbird seat, and then the other 2 trying to chase their way back up to the championship lead. Alfredo has it clear for now. He has gapped the number 98 of Presley Sorah quite a bit. It's opened up to about 1.8 seconds, so the concern definitely dwindling on behalf of the 23. But again, like Jacob mentioned, these guys are coming down pit road, and does that force Alfredo and Sorah's hand? Are they looking at a potential stop in the final 17 or 16 or so laps here from the Homestead-Miami Speedway? This is where David Schildhaus crosses the line. He's a couple of seconds in front of Anthony Alfredo, 4.5 roughly, and closing going into turn 1. So if you're going to make this call, Blake, I think you're going to have to make it now, because you need enough time to get back up to the front. Colin Fern, James Bickford, they're already committed, but Alfredo and Sorah, they're still kind of waiting in the ranks, seeing what they can do. But if they make this call too late, it could be detrimental to the championship.
I think you're right. I think at this point you've kind of made your bed, and you got to lie in it. If you're Anthony Alfredo or Presley Sorah, if you pit at this point, you're exactly right. You lose too much time coming down pit lane. But Colin Fern still maintaining about a 2.5 second gap. It was even 3 seconds that last time over James Bickford. So car 29, or truck 29, I guess I should say, not making up nearly as much time as I thought. So right now, Fern, the lead of that strategy. And now Alfredo and Sorah, that was about 1.5 seconds. Now it's ballooned to almost about 2.5 to 3 seconds. It goes back and forth. So Alfredo making up some ground on Presley Sorah, and just 15 laps to go, Kenneth. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty here.
Yeah, the time doesn't look like it's going to be in the favor of Fern or James Bickford at this point in time. And obviously with Fern making passes here, just made a pass on the 37 of Travis Brown, made a pass earlier on the 77 of Devin Henry. He's putting some distance between himself and James Bickford, having James work a little bit harder for the positions and to catch up to Colin Fern, despite him being really the faster truck, pitting the most recent out of all of the championship drivers and pretty much out of everybody on the track right now. I think at this point in time, at this point of the race, coming to 14 laps to go, like you said, Blake, if you made your bed, you got to lie in it. This is the point of commitment, the point of no return. Because again, if you make that mistake, that may mean your championship hopes are going to be dashed here from South Florida. You look at Colin Fern continuing to work through on the back straightaway. The next truck in line is the 53 of Justin Lillo. He's got to fight himself, I think, with another truck that may be the 4 of Brett Baldeck, holding out hope on the very high side. And then we look back to Schildhaus, 5.2 seconds ahead of Alfredo. No worries for Alfredo, though. He's still in the championship lead. But this pit strategy ultimately chipping down to the wire here from South Florida.
There's a lot left to be decided here in the waning laps of this race, but I know Jacob kind of giving us some insight there, I believe. So when I was talking about Alfredo not making up ground on James Bickford, I think this is why they were saving a lot, saving a ton, whether it's tires, whether it's fuel to try to get to the end. Alfredo and Sorah both significantly slowed their pace on this last run, so perhaps a little bit of a strategy to try to make it to the end. And if there's any track where, Kenneth, you could save a lot of fuel, Homestead is one, because you spend a lot of time out of the throttle, and lifting or clutching, whatever you have to do, shut the motor off, it's not near as much of a loss of time because you can lift really early down the straightaways and not lose all that time in the corner. So if there's one place where fuel strategy can come into play, Homestead is a great track for that.
That's definitely true, Blake. We've seen a lot of races here at this track in sim and in real life come down to that fuel strategy, and having guys run out in the last couple laps, having those guys who had saved enough outlast the competition, and then the ones who were safe on fuel making that risky call despite losing track position go up through the field and take the win away. Right now it doesn't seem to be too large of an issue for that number 23 sim seat Chevy Silverado. Remember, he just needs to stay ahead of Presley Sora and the rest of the competition. There's no worries about Shieldhouse winning this race. They're good friends. They've worked together throughout Season 5 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries, so there's no problem between them two. It's just about holding off Presley Sora, who now has to hold off some non-playoff competition, and this, Blake, may change the tide even further for the 18-year-old out of Cambridge City, Indiana, DJ Cummings, moving around to the outside for third.
And Sorah has significantly slowed the pace as he, I believe, is trying to save. It's now up to 4 seconds. Now we have a battle between your other two championship competitors, between James Bickford and Colin Fern. Their strategy as well, they're getting just about nose to tail, so we really get to see how this thing shakes out. Can Alfredo and Sorah make it to the end? And if they can't, is the other battle the de facto battle for the championship?
That may be the case, but so far, Sorah and company have not worried about Colin Fern and James Bickford. They may have a battle between themselves, but that will not matter at the end of the day. That's only going to be for third in the championship, and obviously you're going for all the marbles. You see on the right side of your screen what they're fighting for with the two drivers in the background. That is Colin Fern on the left, Anthony Alfredo on the far right for that Bob Jenkins Memorial Trophy. You look at Shieldhouse on the left, getting passed by a lap truck. That is the 41 for Crypto Autosport. Matt Stonek, who we saw on stage a little bit earlier on tonight in driver intro, Shieldhouse in the same camp. So he's holding out for the lead, 3.5 seconds. It looks like above your race leader, or the driver in second, DJ Cummings, and Anthony Alfredo. Actually, he shuffled to the race lead. Looks like Shieldhouse might have made a stop on pit road.
David Shieldhouse, at least at the moment, appears that he may have made a trip down pit road. Actually, no, that was just he disappeared for a second. So interesting. He had a little bit of an internet blip right there. Meanwhile, we're at the Esports Hub, and everybody else is okay. There you see David Shieldhouse reappear for your race lead. But the gap for Alfredo and Sorah shrinking again about 3 seconds. I think Alfredo is going into save mode, and then you have Colin Fern and James Bickford that are within half a second. So again, so many battles going on with all of this strategy left to play out. 7 laps to go to try and win that Bob Jenkins Memorial Cup that we saw just a couple of seconds ago.
That desperation, Blake, is starting to kick in heavily for Colin Fern and James Bickford. They're going to close in on each other, so they may go side by side, and Bickford may just have that extra position over the 86, but you question in your head, Blake, does it really matter? You look at Anthony Alfredo and Presley Sora, they're rather comfortable here in their position, second and fourth. You take a look back to David Shieldhouse, who's looking to win his 3rd race on the calendar here in Season 5, along with his other 2 in the playoffs this season, one of them with the MX-5s at the Daytona Road Course, and then that second one coming later on, one of the more pivotal wins in his M&R career at the Daytona International Speedway, the legacy version with the ARCA cars. Here's a look at some tussles throughout the mid-pack. Garrett Smithley, Ford Martin, Adam Cabot, Brad Perez, almost about going 4 wide into turn 3. But like I said, Alfredo and company rather comfortable as Bickford will go to the outside into turn 4 on Colin Fern for 3rd in the championship.
Oh, and Bickford nearly slipped up, got into the outside retaining wall off of turn number 4 as Colin Fern is fighting his heart out to try and hold off Colin Fern. Meanwhile, up front, Presley Sora is within about a second of your race leader, Alfredo. So this gap down under a second as Presley Sora chasing down the SimSeat Chevrolet.
And do you wonder here, Blake, whether DJ Cummings has anything to say about it, because he's closing in on your race leader as well. He wants a win of his own here in MNR, and he is willing to take it away if necessary. He works to the inside, still on Anthony Alfredo, who looked to the outside in the middle of the racetrack in the corner, but can't quite do it. The eNASCAR machine of DJ Cummings holding his own as a non-playoff competitor. Schildhaus looking for 3 laps to go from Homestead as here comes Sorah charging turn 3, closing in on your championship leader.
The gap is down to about a truck length. Now it's about half a truck length. Presley Sorah off of turn number 4 as the crowd to their feet here in Charlotte, side by side for the championship with 3 laps to go. Presley Sorah being cheered on by his father Steven, and he will take the lead over Anthony Alfredo.
2 questions, Blake. Does Anthony Alfredo have an answer? 1, and number 2, did he use up his tires knowing he was comfortable for the last segment of this race? Presley Sorah looking to charge away from the sim seats number 23 and get his first championship in his first season. Alfredo with a send into turn 3 will edge him closer, but with 2 laps to go, is there enough time?
Well, is there enough time, and is there enough fuel now? That's the question. As Sorah, you can see, trying to manage that gap. 2 laps to go for the youngster who flew down here from Cambridge City, Indiana. You can see him right there, calm, cool, and collected, but a couple of laps left. Now Alfredo back with a charge off at turn 2. Kart 23 has a run down the back straightaway.
It's not over till it's over. David Schildhaus, the race leader, is coming to the white flag, but the focus is on the battle for the championship. Both of them looking to the inside. Alfredo getting some dirty air on the back end of the 98. This time out of turn 4, white flag in the air from Homestead-Miami.
It's going to take the lap of his life as Presley Sorah takes the white flag in the 3rd position. Down into turns number 1 and 2 for the final time here in season 5. Presley Sorah hanging on, but Alfredo a little bit of momentum off the corner. A big run for the 23 machine. Does he make a move here into turn number 3? Presley Sorah to the bottom. Alfredo, they make contact. Sorah up the track as the crowd goes wild. They're going to be side by side off the corner, and they're going to crash. Who is going to get back to the line first as Alfredo is spun around? Sorah trying to get going, and Alfredo on his lid, turtling across.
Sorah's going to get there first.
Presley Sorah, I believe, crossed the line. And looking at timing and scoring, Presley Sorah is your season 5 champion. James Bickford almost won it as they were flying across the line, and Presley Sorah hanging on, but God took it and delivers for Presley Sorah as he comes out and stands off of his rig. Presley Sorah is your champion of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Can you believe what we just saw, Kenneth?
No. A large no. And Alfredo tried dearest to make the move on Sorah. They made the contact, and it looked like it might have been over contact-wise between the two. Also to know, David Schildhaus is your winner, but they come crashing to the line out of turn 4, both of them catching air, and it's Presley Sorah, the rookie, the 18-year-old in his first championship 4 appearance, to the checkered flag first, and he will hoist the Bob Jenkins Memorial Trophy for the very first time.
And you can see the family is happy, and Darren, I think we have a happier driver as Presley Sorah is your season 5 champion.
Presley Sorah, my man, what did that was Petty 1976, Petty Pearson. Holy cow, man. What I don't have words. Do you have words?
He moved me, so I moved him back.
I think you made a lot of fans tonight. I mean, that is a NASCAR Xfinity Series driver, and you just won as a rookie in your first go. I mean, that's what it means to be a rookie. A lot of people were picking you, and it came down to the last lap, man. Impressive racing tonight.
Yeah, the whole race I was saving tires, and that last run, I think I clutched it just about every corner of the entire last run. I got to thank Robert Dorman above anything else in the world for putting me on that fuel strategy. He was my spotter and crew chief at the same time. He told me my fuel number, what I needed to hit every lap, and he kept me calm when I didn't think I was going to get it. And slowly but surely, those last 5 laps, I was just running Anthony down. I was like, oh man, I'm catching him, because he had a big lead on me. and I ran him back down.
You just hopped out in victory lane. Like, who do you have to thank? I know Mom and Dad. We put Dad on TV midway through the race. You were running mid-pack at the time, second in the championship at the time. He had no doubt in your abilities that you were going to get the win, and you came through in one of the most exciting finishes that I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, first off, I have to thank whoever it was that hit me across the line, because if I wouldn't have gotten hit across the line, I wouldn't have won. But I got to thank ClubJerky.com, McConey Setup Shop, 213 Simwear Design, Runnings Racing Design, Skybox NASCAR, Sim Racing Channel on Roku TV, B-Blaze Vintage wearing the shirt, James Gibson, he was on the car as well, just everybody. And Ford, Matt, everybody for putting this on. This is an awesome league, and I don't know what I'm going to do on Monday nights now. My Monday nights are free, and I don't know what I'm going to do.
I'm sure you'll be returning to Season 6 champion. There was a bottle of champagne floating around here earlier. I joked that we should probably get a bottle of milk for the boy from Indiana to celebrate in victory lane. I don't think anybody ran out and get that. We'll have to see what we can do. At least celebrate with some Rowdy Energy drink. All right, bud?
Yep. Love Rowdy Energy. They were the title sponsor last year. And this is orange citrus. This is my favorite flavor. And then thank you to Interstate Batteries. Next Level Racing for this simulator here. I think I get a new one now that I'm the champion, so I'm good.
Hey, he's always going to be a champion in Monday Night Racing history. Season 5 champion, Presley Sora. We're going to send it back to the booth. There was a race that went on, too, and there's a race winner. The guys are standing by in the booth with him.
We're gonna take a look at it one more time, as this is the replay of the final lap. As you can see, Anthony Alfredo in desperation sends it in, makes a little bit of contact with Presley Sora, but this is where it gets crazy. So Alfredo Sora made contact hard into the wall. Alfredo is trying to get it going straight. So is Sorah. Sorah gets pummeled by Shane Van Gisbergen and then gets hit by Garrett Smithley, and it's that hit with a truck that doesn't even have an engine is able to just land just in front of the line. He almost stopped, and that was enough to get him this championship, as we are joined alongside with the winner of that race. I know we're talking about Presley Sora and Anthony Alfredo right now, but you won that race by 12 or 13 seconds, so nice job.
Yeah, this feels like the most meaningless win in the history of wins, but I'll take it. I love winning, and it's great to win. That's a crazy finish, certainly a lot crazier than what we saw at the end of Season 4. I really wish I was up on that damn stage, because, but I'll take it. I'll take it. A win, third of the season to wrap up this season with TobyChristie.com on the truck. Back to our roots. Really happy to win for him. Wish he was here tonight. He's recovering from COVID, so shout out to Toby. Wish you were here, but damn. What more could you want in a championship race? I am heartbroken for Anthony, but that's two guys just going for it. Like, what else would you expect for this type of thing? But to win this race, it started off terrible. I was the one caution. Just, like I said, we've always had one caution in these live events, and I was that caution tonight. It was my first
it worked
of the
out
year.
for you. You got your tires and everything.
Yeah, I scammed it, so I don't feel bad. I'm happy about that. I'll take the win to wrap up this season and put it to bed. I think we're all ready for a break.
I would say so, but we'll have to hear from a couple more drivers. I know Darren is on stage chasing down the rest of our championship 4. Darren?
And what actually just happened. Let's kick it off with James Bickford. We're still debating right now whether you're second or third in the championship, man. Great run tonight, and how exciting was that at the end?
Man, dude, honestly, I had no idea what was going on until all the fans started yelling, they started cheering, and then I looked up at the screen and I see them wrecking. So obviously I'm just like, I need to get it, right, as fast as I possibly can to the line. I see Presley just rolling, and I almost got there, but unfortunately fell just a second or so short. So P2 in the championship. Unfortunately, we missed it on the strategy. We didn't think that was possible to save that much, and we just tried to wheel it to the end, and unfortunately didn't pan out. But great night for the Charlotte Phoenix Next Level Racing team. Obviously, we want to get the championship, but P2, I guess, second best.
And then, throughout the night, you're up and down through the field. Like, what was the strategy? Those long green flag runs really brought a lot of strategy into the race tonight.
Yeah, I had actually back in those cubicles over there here at the Charlotte Phoenix, I had Reed Wilson, my crew chief, and Matt Scott, my spotter. They were both talking to me, and they're like, man, you got to save 15 laps in order to make it to the end. And I was like, there's no way, right? And we all agreed there's no way, so we were going to run it to the end. And then as it started to draw closer and closer, we're like, maybe those two guys can do it. And it looks like they could. We were just hoping to race Colin to the end, and both of them run out of fuel. So I thought the race for the championship was between me and him, but turned out it was a wreck to the line and first there.
Hey, before we get out of here tonight with you, any sponsors, team want to thank? We got a big one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look. Hey, Next Level Racing, they put on this event. They did an awesome job. So just a round of applause to Next Level Racing for making this awesome event. Obviously, being a part of the Charlotte Phoenix, I couldn't be more honored. And then, of course, everybody that's helping me out. I mean, I got Reed Wilson. I got Matt Scott. My dad got a Discord and a PC, a gaming PC. So Tom Bickford, have a lot of people watching tonight, so thanks to them. And, of course, Leora Mullins, my girlfriend, for designing my paint scheme. She does an awesome job.
Hey, James, thanks very much, man. We'll see you back next season, Season 6, Monday Night Racing. Colin Fern, I'm sure you'll be back too, but I see the look of disappointment on your face. Heck of a run tonight, man, but just a little bit short. Those long runs seem to burn everybody, yeah?
Yeah, I sucked tonight. I couldn't save tires with anything. It's so tight. Everyone's on the same setup, so there's no one to blame but myself, but I just couldn't save tires. And yeah, I don't know. I thought we had a shot there if I could hold off James, and he got into me one time, and I got into him one time, and he stayed in front of me, so I wasn't going to keep going at it. And then yeah, they just went stupid there at the end. I don't know what they were doing. So got close, and I don't know. This is the second time here, and I think it's the second time I finished third. So I probably should figure out how to win one of these once.
Absolutely, man. Hey, what else would you have done different tonight? Any different strategy? Taking tires at a different time? I mean, it played out the way it played out. There's nothing we can change now. But what are you going to Tuesday morning quarterback tomorrow morning?
I don't know. Make the driver faster. That's probably about it.
Hey, driving faster would always help out. One last shout out to your sponsors. Let's get Wilkesboro.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. North Wilkesboro, Cars Tour. They're going to have a phenomenal event up there Wednesday. So everyone, if you can't tune in to Racing America. Watch that. I got a bunch of people back home in Norwich, New York at the Colonial Theater watching this. So sorry we couldn't put a better show on for them. But, yeah, there's always next season.
Hey, thanks very much, Colin. Colin Fern, ladies and gentlemen, the pride of Norwich, New York. Anthony, my man, what a race.
That's crazy.
Is there any other word? I mean, that's probably the most exciting race that I have seen in quite some time.
Oh, yeah. We were both
ever.
flying through the air. I was just hoping that I was going to fly across the line because at that point I couldn't do anything. But good things Dude Wipe sponsors me because I got Dude Wiped out right there. I just, I don't know. I had exactly 0.1 laps left going into turn 3. So I barely saved just enough. That's why I had to use that gap up at the end. But once Presley got to me, I'm like, all right, man, I got to use the draft to save a little bit more, then I'll just move him. So I felt like that was the difference between a bump and run and a dump and run, but I can't be that mad. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to race in real life, so I'm just doing this for fun. Presley actually raced in my league, the Esports Racing League. That's how he got into MNR. So, man, I took you in this world. I'll take you out. But
no good deed goes unpunished. Hey,
yeah.
I wanted to ask you about just like the strategy throughout the night. I mean, you were pretty much the dominant truck. It looked like you were the #1 contender for the championship throughout the night. Great strategy. It just didn't really pan out over those last 3 laps. Anything you would have done differently?
Yeah, I actually, this is my best track on iRacing probably, so I knew I had the raw pace to win, got the pole obviously, but it came down to the fuel mileage for sure. I knew if we could cut out a stop, it was an easy win, and Presley's smart enough to know that as well, so we were the only 2 on that strategy. I think I just needed to save more the first run, because we didn't know it was going to pan out like that. Probably didn't test that enough beforehand. So I saved about 2 laps the last 2 runs, but I needed to save just one more, really that first run, and I wouldn't have had to give up that lead at the end. So it should have been an easy dub. I hated I had to save that much at the end, and that ultimately cost me. But, well, dead right hook on it, but it is what it is. I'm ready for next season.
And we know there's no solace in second, but we know how big of a sim racer you are and how important this could be for the sport. I mean, a great finish like that is probably going to be talked about. What does it mean to you to be a part of pivotal moment really in Monday Night Racing history and what that could mean for the future of this league going forward.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, doing YouTube, Twitch, stream content, all that's just trying to grow this and be able to do this regularly and make sim racing a more mainstream esport. So it's been fun to be a part of that. Racing for a championship's just a bonus, but really I just want to see anybody up here being a part of it and seeing this on a much more larger scale, across the country.
Awesome. Anthony, anybody you want to thank before we get out of here tonight? I gave everybody else the chance to do so. So let's hear about your sponsors.
Yeah, well, SimSeats first off for sponsoring me pretty much all season. Obviously, bringing me a simulator down just like my one at home, so I was comfortable. That was a huge advantage for me tonight. Just I felt like that was my competitive edge. Very comfortable there. And then XZ Gaming for being a part of their esports organization. And all my real world sponsors who make it possible for me to be doing this in real life on the track, but also supporting me as I do this.
Awesome. Anthony Alfredo, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for coming out tonight, and I appreciate your time. Gentlemen in the booth, back to Kenneth and everybody in the booth.
Thank you, Darren, and we will catch up with the trophy presentation of the Bob Jenkins Memorial Trophy here in just a little bit. But first, Kenneth, I mean, have you ever seen a finish like that, real or virtual, in your life? I mean,
never in my days of covering sim racing and even watching real life racing on TV, I've never seen a championship go down quite like that. I have seen Senzen turn 3, so I wasn't surprised to see Alfredo do that. Of course, he's running for the championship. You're going to go for all that you can in the final corner, but for them to make contact right after and then to go flipping across the line, to have a bunch of other drivers pass through. DJ Cummings, by the way, he came through to finish second, so a miraculous effort for him. Adam Cabot, he swerved by all of that. He finished third, but still, I've never seen a finish like that. For a championship ever before, it's a first.
It's insane to think about. So Alfredo obviously drives in and makes a little bit of racing contact. He's going for a championship right there, gets into the back of Sorah. Sorah gets into the wall, and then after that it's who gets hit first, because Alfredo spun around. I don't know if Sorah has an engine at that point, so if Sorah hangs on, I think you gotta send flowers or something to Garrett Smithley. He's the one who gave him the T-bone that was enough to land him just across the line to get that championship.
And you also think about it too, they're moving out of turn 4. Alfredo makes that contact, he hits Sorah, and it's a game of momentum. Who has to run out of the corner? Because I mentioned how long these corners are at Homestead-Miami Speedway. You have a little bit of leeway before you officially get on that straightaway, so at that point it's just a battle for who has the run and where. And Alfredo and Presley Sora were looking to make contact with the others so that they can stall the other guy and make sure they have enough of a run to get onto the front straightaway, cross the stripe with Barney the flagman, and get the championship. But when you're running in the heat of the moment like that, for a championship, you're on stage, you know what's at stake, you're in person, you know what is worth there in the middle of the stage with the Bob Jenkins Memorial Trophy. You're willing to do anything. So frankly, I don't blame these drivers for trying their hardest to go for the championship. They're definitely, as aggressive as they can be when it comes down to that, and ultimately that's the finish we got.
Well, and not only that, you have James Bickford and Colin Fern, who again, they're about 12 seconds behind all of this happening, and the reason that we were kind of delayed right there is I didn't know who crossed it first, because Bickford could have flown by. We were trying to watch it in the sim, watch our production feed and everything, and it was hard to know. Timing and scoring didn't update for a little bit. There was a lot going on. You had Anthony Alfredo, who got hit down pit road. Now, that did not affect who crossed the start-finish line first, even if you could say, well, Alfredo shouldn't have gotten a penalty. As far as who crossed the line first, it was Presley Sora, at least for now.
At least for now, Presley Sora is the champion. And what a story it is, Blake, for Sim Racer. He qualified into this series earlier in February 2022, literally right after we had our M&R Championship event here at the Carolina Esports Hub, where we crowned Adam Cabot the champion of Season 4. A couple days after, they had the Road to Glory Championship, same combo Xfinity cars at Auto Club Speedway, and it was Presley Sora who dominated the end of that race. It looked like it was an emphatic exclamation mark on the season he had put together. And to come around like this, to cross the line first, to be a champion unofficially right now in his first ever season at 18 years old, that's got to be something to give props about.
Well, and one reason that we are waiting on the presentation, at least for the moment, of the Bob Jenkins Memorial Trophy is a full review of the finish, just to make sure that all Monday Night Racing rules were followed. There is a discussion going on right now between the league administration and race control. Again, not saying that anything is going to change. It could, it might, but at least for right now, they are just going through the replay and making making sure that everything is done by the book and making sure that at the end of this thing, when they hand over this Bob Jenkins Memorial Trophy, it's going to the right person.
And you just heard them interviewing with Darren, all four of the championship drivers, but even now, they're still playing that waiting game. Those emotions are still rampant. They're still going all over the place. And your thoughts with this championship finish going under review, you're thinking about the possibilities, and you're just trying to contemplate every single thing that could happen if this call goes another way or if it stays like that. But ultimately, it's just about us having to find out who gets the championship and how everything ends.
Well, and while we're awaiting official word, just to make sure everything is okay, we'll send it to Darren.
Hey, gents, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I'm here with Ryan Vargas, one of the perennial contenders here in Monday Night Racing. Ryan, not the night you wanted to have, but still a great night, a in-person virtual event. What a great experience, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, look at the turnout. There's a lot of people here, a lot of folks, a lot of families of the competitors and fans even. I mean, it's a pretty amazing event, especially here at the Carolina Esports Hub. I know that finish was pretty crazy. I was watching it from my point of view in the back, but, you know, you'll have that. You'll have off races, and, you know, congrats to Presley. I mean, I think he won the title, but if he doesn't and they do take it away, congratulations, James Bickford.
Hey, what else did you need more of tonight? Just a little more, another set of tires? What could have helped you out tonight, Ryan?
I'm just pretty horrible in the iRacing truck. It always builds so tight, and I like hanging it out, getting on that ragged edge, like the Xfinity car, iRacing, the B car. So needed a little more speed, a little more just overall turn, but had a lot of fun.
Hey, and it takes sponsors to get this thing done. Anybody you want to thank out there tonight?
Yeah, I'll obviously thank the sponsors that are on the iRacing truck. I have like a little Swan sticker on there and all the various other partners I've worked with. And this past weekend we had National Metering Services. They were on our car at Daytona for a P6 finish. So really cool to have them. And like I mentioned, just a really cool event here. I hope this continues. I hope this continues being a tradition. It's a very cool concept, and I think it's only going to go bigger.
I think it's the future. I think this guy's the future. I think we'll see a lot more of him here at the Carolina Esports Center. Ryan Vargas, thanks very much. Right now, we're going to send it back to the booth.
Well, great to hear from Ryan Vargas. And, of course, he had a very emotional run just a couple of days ago at the Daytona International Speedway, finished 6th in that, and it was obviously very great for him and his race team. As we still await final word on the finishing results of this race. Again, I think it's just enough to highlight how important this championship is, how these drivers are willing to do anything to try and win it.
Of course, and you asked that age-old question: would you wreck your granny? Would you wreck your mom? Would you wreck your mom for the championship? And you know, if it comes down to the competitor, you want to put yourself first to go for that championship. So can't blame anyone on that. But I mean, what an event here tonight from the Carolina Esports Hub. I don't think it disappointed whatsoever. Felt like it built on the Season 4 championship that we had earlier in 2022, and I can only imagine how much bigger this event can get. I mean, us as broadcasters, I know it's your first time being in person here, my second, but it's been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah.
And as we await the finish, I think we're only halting the official decision, but we're still having a lot of fun. We're not complaining that we're waiting a couple extra minutes here.
Exactly, and it's worth noting, I mean, look at the crowd that we have behind us here. There are very few that have walked out the door since the finish of that race, not only to hear the results, but everyone just so enthused about what we saw here tonight. I want to see if maybe we can bring in our good friends Eric Eastep and Jacob Hitz into this conversation right now as well. As Jacob Hitz, I know you were kind of taking it in all from pit road and a lot going on right there. I mean, kind of what are your thoughts on the end of this thing?
Finish. I cannot believe what we saw. I still can't process everything that we've been going through with that finish. A wild finish. No doubt about it, and of course they're just going through making sure everything is all good as far as the finishing results before we get official word for sure. But it has been a long night, and for the guys in the championship 4, they slugged it out all the way to the end, and I didn't think Alfredo was going to move Sorah when he sent it in that deep into turn number 3. But sure enough, he made the move, made the contact, and you heard from Sorah himself saying, I got moved, so I made sure to move him back. I thought Bickford had the best shot coming through turns 3 and 4, but sure enough, Garrett Smithley there to push Presley Sorah across the line first. Bickford just coming up maybe about a second and a half too short. And I really thought that Colin Fern had the strategy won with those 4 fresh tires. And just the guys in front were able to save just enough gas in order to make it to the end. So it sucks for Colin Fern because I really thought the strategy was going to work for him for 2 weeks in a row. It almost worked, though, for James Bickford. And we'll know for sure once we have an official ruling on the finish. But in the meantime, Presley Sora, is strong out of the gate, strong all season. No surprise that it looks like he's our MNR Season 5 champion, Blake.
Are pointing out that would be the second back-to-back winner from the Road to Glory series. 2 alumni from that. Adam Cabot would have had it in Season 4, and of course Presley Sora, should he hang on, would get it in Season 5. But let's see if we'll try to wrap in a couple of thoughts here from a couple of different drivers. How about we throw it to Darren, who's caught up with some more.
On center stage of the Carolina Esports Center with like the one thing that is certain tonight. David Chillhouse, number 20, winner. How's it going, man? Great. Like, at least you're a certain thing, right?
In a world of uncertainty, I guess I'm the one certain thing, and I'll take that. It's a win for the race that nobody cares about, right? Yeah, nobody cares that I won?
Some fans. You got some fans out there.
All right, that's a little bit different than we actually crossed the checkered flag. Nobody cared then, but this is a lot different at the end of Season 4. But to be up here as the winner feels good. Wish I had that little trophy right there in my hand, but that'll be for Season 6. What a crowd. Thank you, everybody, for coming out to support this. See a lot of great people out here. I see Tommy Joe Martins over there, too. Hi, Tommy. Thanks for coming. But, yeah, great night. Unbelievable fight between the championship drivers, and I'm glad I just stayed out of it.
And I'm hearing from the booth right now. We do have a replay of your win. If we could just live react through that, just like they do on Sundays. So I'm assuming it's going to pop up on the screen right behind us, and you can just talk us right through that win.
Yeah, that's not me. But
that's still the race that everybody's talking about, and not your win. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, welcome to my life. Well, it looks like Presley goes down to block, and Anthony says, I don't think so. Gives him that bumper. Okay, cool. Short track racing at Homestead. All's fair in love and war right here. Anthony comes up off the bottom a little bit. Bang, right in the wall. And then it's about, I was in Discord with Anthony, and he's like, trying to get it back rolling. He's like, did he get to the line? Am I getting to the line? What's going on? And then, pow! Holy damn. That is just, what a way to win a championship right there. Anthony gets yeeted onto pit road, and I guess Presley crossed the line after getting pile driven by 2 trucks. Cool.
Now you can see why everybody's still talking about it. Anyway, gents, we're still talking about it up here. We are going to send it back to the booth, as David Chillhouse is certainly the winner of the Monday Night Racing finale.
See Presley Sora right there crossing the line, and we do have a decision and an official word. Presley Sora is your Season 5 champion, and in just a moment we will throw it. And actually right now we'll just go ahead and do it. We'll throw it to Ford Martin with the presentation of the championship trophy here in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries, the Bob Jenkins Memorial Cup. Ford?
Congratulations on behalf of Monday Night Racing. We took a little bit to make sure it was all right. We're comfortable with our decision that we've made, but I want to wish you congratulations to the Bob Jenkins Memorial Trophy. Presley Sora, your Season 5 champion. Well, Presley, one more time, kind of walk us through the last lap with Anthony and everything that happened. Just kind of walk us through what was in your mind, and you plan on having a conversation with Anthony here. Let's get to the smoke here a little bit. There you go. Make us through. Do you plan on having a conversation with Anthony here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was fair, and after they showed the replay of it up there, I think it was even more fair, because not only did he hit me once, but he hit me a second time after that, and when we made contact the final time, he came up like 3 feet off the white line. we moved an equal distance towards each other. So, I mean, that's fair in my opinion. And once we hit the wall, it was just down to luck. He got flipped across the pit lane when he got hit, and I got hit down to the start-finish line. After the first contact, my engine was killed. It was out, plus I was out of fuel. So if I wouldn't have gotten hit both those times, I was not going to make it to the line. And I only crossed it by like 2 feet. I hate that I couldn't do burnouts. I wanted to burn it down after winning, but it was dead, so I couldn't.
All right, that's Presley Sora. Give a round of applause one last time to Presley Sora, your Season 5 champion. Blake, back to you guys.
You see it one more time. Presley Sora, Anthony Alfredo, some contact in turns 3 and 4, a discussion had post-race, but in the end, Presley Sora is your Season 5 champion. That will wrap things up here for August, but Kenneth, there's so much to look forward to because guess what? Season 6 is right on the horizon.
Yeah, it's right around the corner, and we get to start the season at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway, one of the biggest and baddest tracks in all of the calendar in M&R. We've seen it play a huge role into the championship in previous seasons in M&R. Well, it gets to be the season opener this time around with the NASCAR Next Gen cars. But look at these races, look at these combos, Blake McCandless. You think about the ARCA cars at Twin Ring Motegi. I believe that may be the first or the second or third time possibly that M&R has ever been to that track over in Asia. You look at the Daytona Road Course, the MX-5s, that track not going to be a playoff decider this time by. It's going to be earlier in the season, but you've got some favorite combos returning. Indy cars in Indianapolis, can't go wrong with that, right? The Indy 500 on December 5th, 1987 cars at Michigan. And then
that's a good one.
A lot of these different combos. Look at Canadian Tire in here with the Next Gens.
That ought to be really fun, and I mean, personally, again, I just love those 87 cars so much, so happy to see them on the schedule. How about the Car of Tomorrow Unrestricted at Talladega?
Oh, yeah.
The race to get into the playoffs, that ought to be incredible as we now see what is now the official running order. So David Schildhouse, your winner, DJ Cummings, perhaps a little bit of a quiet second place with everything that was going on here tonight. Adam Cabot, your Season 4 champion, in third. Corey Heim, Brad Perez rounds out your top 5. A couple other drivers on that strategy, Bailey Turner, Nick Olson, Presley Sora, who was in 8th position. Cannot believe that 8th is what got it done for the championship tonight, Kenneth, but that's how things shook out.
And you look at the last two in the top 10, George Balfans Jr. Didn't see him much all throughout tonight, but look at the comeback he made. Also, Preston Pardis in the 42. Also didn't talk about the Florida native as well, but they both ended in the top 10. But again, I talked about the fact that points not in the conversation at this championship event. All you have to do is finish ahead of the other 3. And Presley Sora, despite him finishing 8th, that's all he needed. Everybody else was behind him. James Bickford, the second out of the championship 4. As of the race results, he finishes in 11th for Charlotte Phoenix. Colin Fern, who was behind James Bickford, we saw that pivotal pass in the final winning laps of tonight's race. He finishes 12th. With the wreck that happened between Sorah and Anthony Alfredo, that pushes Anthony Alfredo back to 13th, last in the championship 4 category. And you look at Justin Lillo, who puts up a nice solid top 15 here tonight from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Max Kennan in the 21. We saw him almost have some temperature issues earlier in the race, but overcame all of that, finishes in 15th. Jeff Green, we saw him make a nice move through the field multiple times on end. Very quick truck on behalf of him. He finishes 16th. It'll be 17th for the 57 of Seth Eggert. Seminole, Florida's Robbie Lyons, the Season 3 champion. He is the first truck 1 lap down in 18th, followed by Crypto Autosports' Mark Rabilis in 19th, and rounding out your top 20, La Mirada, California's Ryan Vargas.
See the rest of the finishing order there on your screen. A number of drivers laps down because of the long green flag run that we had. And Eric, I feel like it would be unfair if we didn't bring you in one last time. You were able to ride with us all the way through this Season 5 playoffs, not only tonight, but the entire playoffs. What's kind of your summary of all that we saw?
Yeah, I've just been trying to process for the last 15-30 minutes here exactly what we just witnessed. But no, talking about the whole 7-week stretch here with Monday Night Racing, it's been an absolute honor to help be a part of the show with you guys. Blake, you, Kenneth, Jacob, y'all are best in the business, do a fantastic job every single week. And then the racing action on track was astounding. Wide variety of vehicles, different tracks. We saw strategy races. We saw crashes at the end. And for it all to come down to that championship finish. No fuel, no engine in the truck, his opponent flipping onto pit road, but Presley Sora gets the win regardless. Like, we joke in real world NASCAR that just wait 1 week, something goofy is going to happen. It just seems to be the nature of stock car racing. But boy, did we see that tonight in the sim. The 2 most deserving drivers competing down the stretch, contact, hurt feelings, tempers, And Presley Sora, the rookie, gets it done in the most dramatic of fashion. So I want to thank you guys for bringing me on board these past 7 weeks. It's been a blast, and I hope everyone watching at home got a kick out of this championship fight. I know I had a ton of fun helping bring the action to everybody.
And again, we hope that in February for season 6, maybe we see Eric Estep make his way to North Carolina or so. I mean, I may need a little bit of a booster to make sure we're kind of eye level with each other, but nevertheless, would love to see Eric. And again, we appreciate him and, of course, his entire community joining us here for the Monday Night Racing Season 5 Championship presented by Interstate Batteries. So for a wrap here for all of us, for Ford Martin and Paul Sutton at Monday Night Racing, Josh Mendoza in Race Control, Gary Sexton, John Theodore at Podium Esports, our camera builder Gary Sexton, our overlay builder Michael Hall, Cameron on our social medias tonight, and for our broadcast crew tonight, and so many that made this possible on our production crew, our pre-race host Eric Estep, producer Ryan Bauer and Zach Johnson, and my colleague in the broadcast booth and on pit road, Jacob Hitz and Kenneth Bueno. I'm Blake McCandless saying so long from the Charlotte Esports Hub in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a thriller, and it was won by Presley Sora, your Season 5 champion.